Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
He haven't got it! He's on the outside line, though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now, though, for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such trouble. He's not a second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry! Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new season of the VHSC Historic Championship here from Daytona. For over the course of 2.4 hours of racing here tonight, we're going to kick off our new season with these new wonderful cars that we're going to talk about over the course of the evening, and a great circuit as well, set in roughly 1985. The bus stop is the only realistic difference around this version of the Daytona International Speedway that, of course, utilizes the infield section that we have here in the modern day as well. It is myself, Ian O'Leary, taking you through this first round alongside Tom Cairns, with Paul Glover behind the scenes pushing the buttons for us this afternoon. It's good to be alongside you, Tom, for this one. It's an exciting new season. It's Daytona in the 80s, and it's a fantastic, I've got to say, grid of great-looking new cars.
Well, we may be going back in time, but Daytona is very much virtually the same as what it is currently. It's such a brilliant circuit for these drivers to circulate rounds, whether it be qualifying or the race itself. It's wonderful to see. And a lot of different venues that we're going to across the season, a mixture of all around the world, actually. So we've got a couple in America, and then we head to Europe for a particular period of time before we head to Motorsport in Canada, then back to Europe for a couple more rounds. And we've got Fuji and Sandown for the last two. So bearing in mind that it's pretty much like once a month, roughly, if you want to put it in those words. But these drivers are prepared for whatever venue they are racing at with these beloved machines.
Exactly, there it is. This is the tied longest race of the season, 2.4 hours. We will have a 1.2 hour in 4 weeks' time in Sebring, and then 250-kilometre races are all the other races apart from Le Mans. So plenty of interesting circuits to look at here, especially looking forward to Sandown, actually. Don't often get to see sports cars go around there anymore, but we do in R-Factor 2, which is absolutely fantastic. So look forward to that. And this season comes to a very long end in the 6th of December. That is 10 months away 2 days ago. So a very, very long season indeed, and plenty of races between now and then to bring you here on the JPB YouTube channel, of course, and elsewhere as well. We're very much looking forward to bringing it to you. This is our venue. Tom, you mentioned it's not changed much. You notice, though, the bus stop is slightly different. Other than that, it's absolutely the same. It's the classic Daytona International Speedway, the classic way to start the season.
It is, and the drivers are very much looking forward to the challenge, especially through the road section of this Daytona circuit. But it's a fine way to get the ball rolling for the new championship.
It absolutely is, and a very interesting race ahead of us as well in terms of strategy. 2.4 hours ahead of us, and so everybody's got a lot of choice as far as tyre compounds and strategy goes. Here's the look at how you get through 2.4 hours. It's saying the target for fuel at 2.6 litres a lap. There's not much we're going to be able to monitor on that. We are going to be able to monitor, though, just how fast they're going over the course of a lap. 1:44, the target time. Now, that is quite a lot faster than what they have just done in qualifying, which we'll tell you about in a few moments' time. But that is right around where we'll want to be. There are the cars to beat on the right-hand side as well. Plenty of choices as well. First thing to note, though, here, Tom, is just how good they look. It's just how different they look as well. Really nicely modelled here in the sim. I'm looking forward to seeing which one is prevailing. I guess at a straight line speed heavy circuit, those who are good in a straight line will certainly need to be around this circuit.
Yeah, I would agree. So the Jaguar XJR6 and the Lancia LC2 are two machines to look out for, just for my preference, because I do like the livery of both of them. But as you say, turbo is what you need here. Engine power is what you predominantly need around this circuit. We'll find out sooner rather than later which manufacturers favour the most around this course.
Absolutely. As we take a look down in towards turn number 1, we are just about to get warm-up underway. Actually, we're just 5 minutes away from the beginning of the race, and Ross Smith has just poked his head into the broadcast booth. Are you there, Ross? Can we chat to you? Oh, no, we can't. He's gone. Oh, he's back. Can we chat to you, Ross? Have you got time?
Yes.
Oh,
here I am. Sorry, I had a little bit of issue, but
it's all right. Are you racing this afternoon, by the way?
I am, yes. So I'll only be in here for a few minutes while we're going through the driver's brief on the other channel. Yeah, we've got a lot to go over for sure.
Just tell us about a few of those things that you're going over with the drivers at the moment. Tell us a few things that are new for this season, new for these cars set in the mid-80s.
I mean, obviously, Group C is a departure from the sports cars from the 60s. You got quite a bit of aero. In fact, it's some of the most intense aero because you've got 3 times the downforce because of ground effects being a major part of the series. But probably the biggest divergence that drivers are going to have to grapple with is the fuel saving aspect. In modern terms, think of Formula E, because that's going to be basically what you have to do. You have to be as optimal and efficient with the way you drive the car as utterly possible, because if you aren't, then you run out of fuel by the end. There's just no two ways about it. And I think you're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see a lot of drivers trying to cope with the way that other cars, other models of cars have different braking points, different lift and coast points. And that's going to be a point of contention for everyone throughout the race, and just seeing how their cars behave in traffic, out of traffic, and then people dealing with the vehicles as they're going through this race in particular, because the fuel is set quite a bit higher. Just a kind of background on it. The 80s, when they were running this for FIA, IMSA didn't do this, but FIA did, so WEC, they said you can have 500 liters per race for the 6-hour races. It was different for the longer ones, like Le Mans, but that's all you had. And so you could refill, you could fill up your car, you could have pit stops and whatnot, but you couldn't go past that or you're disqualified. So to replicate that here in this series, we have just said you cannot add any fuel to the tank. That's just, you can't do anything with that. What you get is what you have. So when you run out, that's it. You can't, if you're coming close, you're going to see probably a few people towards the end. They may have pushed it a little bit too much, and they're going to be putzing around on the apron, just hoping and waiting for the race to end so that way they can cross the line and at least gobble up a couple points at the end, but that's the biggest difference. You can get tires. You can certainly do that. You can take fuel out, interestingly enough, but you cannot add any in. So that's going to be a big part of this. And certainly at the beginning, you're 221 liters in each car. So as you see the fuel burn, I think the target is about 2.66 liters per lap is what drivers need to hit. And each car has varying degrees of difficulty in doing that. I will probably say the March is probably the most difficult with the naturally aspirated, the EMCA, the Jaguar. Those two are going to have the easiest time of it because they can almost not even have to worry about fuel saving. There's a little bit, but it's not near as much. So that's kind of the lay of the land. You're going to see how that plays out across all the team battles and all the individual driver battles.
Very interesting. I noticed just quickly. I know you've got to go to the race. Just quickly, how difficult is it going to be to hit the fuel target? Because I noticed that the fuel target time, if you like, is a lot slower than what you were just doing in qualifying.
Oh yeah. Well, those were blazing laps. You have certainly for the turbo cars, you have a second level of turbo, which is effectively the quali engine. And back in the 80s, they were throwing engines out almost after every session. So they went through them like, cans of Coke. they didn't care. They're probably actually made of cans of Coke, to be honest, because they're so frail. But yeah, they burned through them. And so the turbos almost always were at the top of the field going into a race, but they often ran into difficulties with reliability, particularly the Lancias, although here they're a little bit more reliable to keep it even. And then the naturally aspirated just were able to not use as much fuel. So it evened out throughout the race. And I think you'll see a bit of that here, where you've got a big grid of a lot of turbo cars at the front and some very fast naturally aspirated cars right behind them. So yeah, it's very difficult to manage because so much of you as a racer wants to push that and move forward. But unfortunately, you have to target a time. But it doesn't mean that you're just totally focused on that. You have to pay attention to what's happening on track and abide by all the rules and make sure that you're racing smartly and doing all the things you can. It's just strategies have shifted significantly, and there'll be a lot more team play and being able to maybe fuel save and slipstream. For people who've practiced that. Although if you are not used to driving behind some of these cars at speed, there's going to be a few who get a surprise, and you get to see all of that in just a few minutes.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to it. I'll let you go, Ross. I know you've got to get to the race in a few moments' time. So good luck. We'll be watching, of course, and hopefully we'll speak to you after the race.
Thanks, you and Tom, Paul. I just want to give a quick shout out to the team at Storm Gang for everything that they've done. Scar Pope has done a tremendous job on getting the sounds in place here. George, John, Jerry, they've done awesome at getting all of the cars where they need to be in terms of just performance envelopes and everything. Wouter, Adam Gray, Peter Meyer, John, like all those guys who have helped them out, and certainly like Stephen Miller and some of the people who've put Vasilis Katarinakis also helped out a ton on that, and getting a lot of the liveries in here, and Ben Borman, because he's he's been leading our team, the rookie lobsters and the cookie mobsters. You'll see a lot of the lobsters out on the stream here, and we're hoping to give those marches the best of showing as we possibly can. So yeah, that's all I got.
All right. We look forward to it. Thanks so much, Ross, for chatting to us before the race, and we will see you out there in a few moments' time for sure. Very interesting, Tom, to chat to Ross as always about the new season, the new cars, and the race we've got ahead of us here. I mean, it's going to be very interesting. It sounds like a bigger fuel race as far as that's concerned than I imagined, to be honest, at the start of the day. I thought, that's going to be a target to try and hit there for sure. But actually, the time they're going to have to do, it's going to have to be relatively slow lap times. We're going to see a very interesting strategic race, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And we're going to be, the amount of time you lose in the pits is going to be quite enormous as well. So it's just a matter of, is it worth saving fuel whilst you're on circuit, or is it better to just duck into the pits and get some clean air? That'll be what will be going through the driver's mind. Now, some drivers are labelled as pros, some are in pro-am, others in am. So there's that to bear in mind as well, hence why there's a significant gap or significant gaps between each driver. But we'll see as the race goes on. Becky Ellie Clark on pole for the Cookie Mobsters March. Is it Ely? Sorry, Ely Clark. My apologies for that. 1:35.543, which is an astonishing lap time for a qualifying lap. So she'll be hoping to build on that as the race progresses. But yeah, I am very much looking forward to this one, Ewan, most certainly.
Absolutely. And I can hear the rumble of engines in my ears again. So I can only imagine that the briefing is finished. A very long briefing, I've got to say. It's only meant to last about 5 minutes, but for some reason it's gone on. It's ran over, and it looks like we're running over here today as well, which is fine. I guess the pit stops then are going to be centred around tyres here this afternoon, and that's going to be a key talking point as well. Clearly, no fuel taken on by everybody, but tyres certainly. And Stacey in YouTube chat saying that there will be tyres for certain required. So that is something to note. We'll see whether anybody tries not to, because theoretically, I guess you could go a whole 2.4 hours without stopping by the sounds of it.
So, yeah, I mean, with the fuel, I would be interested to see who decides to save fuel during the course of their first stint and who decides to just absolutely go for it flat out from the lights out. So we'll see how they get on. Lots of drivers in the field. And given that they're in different classes to each other, and given the pace that they are potentially going to have, we could see a few mistakes happening, particularly over at bus stop.
Absolutely. The drivers, as I say, just made their way out for warm-up. There's still plenty of time left in warm-up. I'm not sure whether they're going to skip that or not. They're just sorting out pit boxes and whatever. So we'll wait for them in the next few moments. Before we get to the race session in itself then, and by the way, it doesn't look like it's going to rain, just for those who were wondering about that as well. Let's have a quick chat about the keys to the race here and quite what that is going to entail over the course of today. First one's pretty obvious, actually. It's to do with the slipstream. It's going to be so important around here on the high banks at Daytona. You spend so long not necessarily going in a straight line. Sometimes you're turning, of course, on these banked oval corners. But on the main part, you are slipstreaming off of one another, and staying within that slipstream is going to be a big thing, not only for actually speed in the race, but actually also for fuel saving as well.
I would agree. And it's almost like a bit of Formula E, isn't it, where you sit behind someone to conserve energy. That'll be the same with these when conserving fuel, which could be the difference between saving a pit stop.
It certainly could. Just reading the session at the moment. So just want to chat a couple of more keys to the race just before we go to the qualifying results and so on, and talk about those in a couple of minutes' time. Getting the line right through the bus stop chicane. It is an I don't know if you've seen very much of the bus stop chicane, this version of it from the mid-'80s, but it is a little bit different. If I could describe it to you, it's probably that the first two parts are probably similar, probably familiar to everybody who has followed Daytona over the last few years. Of course, there's no grass on the outsides of the corner anymore at the bus stop, sadly, but that's the way that it goes. There certainly is in this version, and it's almost as if they've taken the escape road. If you haven't driven Daytona, there's sort of an escape road, if you like, where you can rejoin the circuit again a little bit further down, where there's some access trucks used and so on in real life. They can be that access road effectively is what the bus stop chicane looks like here, and perfecting that line is going to be a difficult one. Everyone will have been very familiar with the rest of the circuit, but getting used to that corner in particular is going to be difficult.
Well, one driver who will be very excited and glad to be back is Ethan Funk. And his aim for the season ahead is to get one overall win, which he believes is unlikely, but anything can happen in this championship. And he's looking to enter about 50% of the rounds, depending on his university schedule, which is interesting. So best of luck to you, Ethan. It'd be good to see you get on the board, and best of luck to him. So who are you looking out for then, Ewan? Whose drivers do you reckon could be in contention for the championship? Because we don't know for certain how many races of the season each driver is going to be doing. That could be what decides the championship. But if you were to put any money on someone to perform brilliantly, who could you say that would be?
I think it's almost impossible to tell, to be honest, but that's the answer you were probably expecting at the end of the day. Who would I go for as far as going well would go? Well, Oliver Day is quite a good driver, especially his historical stuff like this is quite good at. So he's going to be a challenger for sure. It's also going to matter a little bit what car you've gone for. Becky Ely Clark has already told me that the March is perhaps not a great car to have in the race. In qualifying, it is a little bit different, but clearly it doesn't have as much race pace, so she says. So it'll be interesting to see how that car goes, especially throughout the season. I mean, there's plenty of circuits that are going to rely a lot on straight line speed, like Le Mans, Monza, and Spa as well, still to come even after this one. So that car could even be a bit of a problem. But yeah, Oliver Day's in the Lancia. That could work out. A couple of drivers in the Jaguar include Daniel Hurlock, who is pretty good driver as well. He's in the pro class. And then you go a little bit further down, the MK Aston Martin, JT Tarmy driving that. It's probably got a shout as well. It's very difficult to tell. I mean, plenty of these drivers have been in this series before, and they are experienced drivers in this series. But it's very early to tell at this early stage in the season.
And one driver who thinks that Group C is the best era for these cars is Scar Pope, and he's basically saying that Group C is the best era for sports cars, raw monsters that require a different mentality to tame. Which is, I don't know what is the best word to describe that, but I like his mentality when it comes to that. That's probably a good way to describe it, isn't it? I do like the look of the Group C cars, though, back in those days. I mean, when you think of something like the Mazda, that red and green Mazda that was around, I can't remember which drivers that were racing in that one back then, but it was a gorgeous livery. And of course, the Martini Lancer, which is kind of similar to the one that is being used to this. So I'm really looking forward to see which sports car itself is going to prevail around the era of which is being contested here at Daytona, don't you think?
Yeah, 1985, for those who are not aware. As we mentioned beforehand, 2.4 hours this opening race of the season. 1.2 hours at Sebring to come in 4 weeks' time. Then 250 kilometres at Mugello. 2.4 hours again at Le Mans as standard in May, a little bit earlier. And then 250 kilometres for the rest of the season, which includes Monza, Silverstone, Hockenheim, Motorsports, Spa, Brands Hatch, Fuji, Sandown to round out the season in the 6th of December, as you described earlier. Pretty much a race per month from here to the end of the season. So that is all to look forward to. Philip in the YouTube chat says that his money is on the 747 boys. There is the calendar, by the way, on the screen. His money is on the 747 boys in these races. So we'll see how those guys get on over the course of the season. Of course, still a very, very long way to go indeed at the end even of this race. Go forward to the rest of them. Let's chat about some of the drivers who are actually entered into this series, and Becky Ely Clark as well, who's taken the first pole position of the season. Said ahead of round one that she was going to be scuttling around the track slowly. Well, that doesn't seem to have been proved true so far. Although very interesting what she's already been saying, to be honest, about the March Porsche and just how slow it is, unfortunately, in the race. Very interesting, though, that it is so different in qualifying in these cars.
Well, I don't know what the race pace is expected to be for the Porsche compared to qualifying. So I think we could see a bit of a transition in pace between each of the manufacturers that are competing. Bear in mind, some may be racing the same machine, just under a different team name. There are many different teams involved in this. We've mentioned about Cookie Mobsters, and then we've got the Lancia LC2. In terms of Jaguar, we've got Smile Power Racing, which Dan Hurlock is racing for, and a lot of the other ones as well. As we just scrolling down, we've got 34 that have gone into qualifying. I don't know whether we'll get one or two more before the race begins. But if that is the number of drivers we've got for the race, then we're in for a cracker, it's safe to say. So we're not too far away from the race starting.
Yeah, we've got just over 4 minutes before we begin. Let's have a look at the qualifying order ahead of the opening round of the season, the VWSC Historic Championship. It is Becky Ely Clark who's taken pole position in the 72 car ahead of Eduardo Beninca. Then Oliver Day and Micah Doan rounding out row 2. Then row 3 headed by Wouter de Bruin, followed by Ross Smith, who we chatted to earlier, He is in 6th. Daniel Hurlock, 7th, ahead of Risto Corpi, who is on row 4. Those two Jaguars sharing row 4. Johnny Gutierrez and Yukataki Nashi round out the top 10, with Jules Lalonde and Mike Bell on row 6. Further behind Mike, it is JT Tami in the MK Aston Martin. Bradley Sellers is alongside him, with Luca Taverneri and George Angelidis, who is on row 8. Row 9 is Timo Suvic versus Scar Pope. We'll talk about those drivers in a couple of minutes' time. Magnus Dahlgren and Ilko Bussink are on row 10. About 2/3 of the way down the field now. Robin Molin is next, ahead of Troy Ewan, with Peter Mayer and Ethan Funk rounding out row 12. 25th position in the qualifying session has gone to Adrian Rice, with John Ewan alongside, quite a long way down by his standards. Alexander Schultz is alongside, with Wayne Hutchinson in 28th position. And then on the very end of the grid, Vinicius Gonçalves and Oliver Newman rounding out the top 30. Stephen Miller and Jerry Chen are on row 16. And I did see a couple of latecomers at the bottom of the standings. Indeed, there were Adam Gray and Gabriel Mora rounding out the 34 drivers in the field. It's a very nicely formed field indeed. It's a great looking field as well. And it's worth reminding you that we've got the time of day accelerate, or the time scale as it's called, being accelerated 10 times here today. And so you know what that means. We will have a day-night cycle. This effectively is going to simulate a 24-hour race in just 2.4 hours.
Absolutely. So we've gone through the grid, and we're about a couple of minutes away now, I think, from the start of this. I'm back. So we're just heading over to the race, and it's very much intensifying. It is expected, I think, to be a rolling start for these. So we'll just wait to see what is going on. And we're looking around the paddock area of the circuit, but it'd be nice if we get to see some cars just to find out exactly what is going on. And when I say cars, I don't mean those ones in the backgrounds, but I mean in the ones on the racetrack, the one. There we go. Look, yeah. So we've got these cars. You can just see
they are just onto the grid now, and as you may have heard, then the lights went out, but the race hasn't quite started yet. Of course, there is a formation up and a rolling start to be had. The orange zone tonight, by the way, it stretches all the way around to turn 6. If you're not sure which corner that is, it's effectively the one that sends you out onto the banking for the first time. So that is going to be one to watch throughout the race, as Becky Ely-Clark leads them around on the pace lap. 2 hours 28 put onto the clock at the beginning. The race will begin with 2 hours 24 to go. We will see whether we might get a bit of bonus time, to be honest. I can't see it taking them 4 minutes to drive around the road course, so we should get a couple of extra minutes, in fact. But that's going to be a real problem in terms of fuel. And by the way, what a difficult set of circumstances for these drivers to get underway in, because we're just talking to Ross there, over 200 litres of fuel. That's over 200 kilograms extra fuel on board these cars, which is an awful lot, and they'll be very heavy compared to what they just experienced in qualifying.
Going to be on heavy amounts of fuel, and so that means they'll have to approach the corners differently to how they did in qualifying on lighter fuel loads. So if you're the leader, well, you're almost becoming a bit of a reference point to the drivers behind. They'll be waiting for you to make that mistake. So Becky Ely-Clark will be all too aware of that, but I'm sure she'll get through the first part of the course absolutely fine, no problem. 31 degrees the angle of this banking before they go to the back stretch, which feels like a higher angle than that. It depends maybe on what part of the banking you are on. You can just see they're coming back into their rows of 2 now before they get to the bus stop chicane, so we're not too far away from the start of this race.
And there on the bottom right of your screen is the AM class headed by Jules Lalonde in qualifying. Becky Ely-Clark, by the way, is a Pro-Am driver, so I expect her to drop back a little bit throughout the race naturally anyway. The pole position for the pros, it was taken by Eduardo Benenke, who will be starting alongside Becky Ely-Clark here in this race. Excuse me, starting directly behind. Wouter de Bruin has taken the pole in the pros. I do apologise. Through the chicane they go. You see what I mean about the sort of access road look. So it's going to feel quite slow through NASCAR turns 3 and 4 compared to real life and these days. the circuit that we use nowadays. Oh dear, as Becky Lee-Clark just weaves around to try and get some tyre temperature in, and very nearly slides up into the apron and slides up into everybody. That wouldn't have been a very good start to the season, but thankfully disaster's been averted, and we're going to be able to get underway here in a few moments' time without problems. It's a new season of the VWSC Historic Championship here at Daytona. The cars from 1985 here used in the Virtual World Sportscar Championship 2025. Becky Lee-Clark is now in control of the field. At the main part of your screen, it's the actual lead of the race. In the bottom right, the AM drivers getting themselves underway from the midfield. Here comes Becky Lee-Clark now into the start zone, if you like, up towards the start-finish line. And now the green flag will wave. A new season of the historic Virtual World Sportscar Championship from 1985 gets underway, and Becky Ely takes a nice start in towards turn number 1, but has a big slide on the way through the opening corner of the race. Then it's Eduardo Panenka who's into second, then about to De Bruyne, and look at Panenka immediately here in second place, having a look. They're both defending though to the inside. Becky Ely-Clark doing all she can to stay in the way and stay in the lead through the International Horseshoe for the first time.
Absolutely good start there from Becky Ely-Clark, just pulling away clear, having that little slide through turn 1, but gathered it all up and just got through the first horseshoe absolutely fine. But now she's going to be under attack as they head towards the second horseshoe of the lap, but doing everything right so far and pulling away from the rest of the field. There were an incident at the back on the exit of turn 1, but other than that, it seems like everyone's got through the first half of the circuit unscathed.
Yep, everybody is still pointing the right way, I can tell you, at the end of the opening section. That is 34 drivers all up onto the banking, and now here we go. Now look at the speed. Watch for that Lancia come up now. Eduardo Panenka is going to take the lead here surely through NASCAR turns 1 and 2. Up on the high side of the banking he goes, roaring down the back straight, and he's going to take the lead here, is he? Becky Lee-Clark can't quite stay alongside, and so he's going to drop back. My goodness, that was a big turn of speed from the Lancia there. You can see on and off. Becky Lee-Clark just goes slightly up the road there down the bus stop. Panenka tries to have a look down the inside. It wasn't going to happen. Now he's going to have a look on the exit maybe. Here as well comes Risto Corpi, is it? In the background, it looks like it might well be. As they make their way now round NASCAR turns 3 and 4, they are all very close to one another. The Jaguar in the light blue there with a big turn of speed. Here in towards turn number 1. Ely bringing it to the middle part of the road. Moving on the outside line there is Daniel Herlock from the looks of that. And so Herlock breaks late on the outside line. He now gets up to second place.
Yeah, good job there, and Ely-Clark just missed out as they went through the bus stop chicane, but remember she's in a different class to Panenka as they begin the second lap of this course, and now you can just see something going on further back. It looks like Ely-Clark has lost ground there. She's just been overtaken through the first horseshoe of the circuit, and yeah, she's beginning to struggle now, isn't she?
It's to be expected. The front 3 pros are immediately ahead of the March Porsche, and now here comes Oliver Day in the battle for 4th place. He is very close in behind. So is Mike Bell, Walter De Bruyne, who's dropped back a little bit, Johnny Gutierrez and JT Tami all involved here. Look at this. This is quite a train coming on to the banking for the second time of asking. Gilles Lalonde is still leading in the AMS, by the way, as far as I can work out at the moment. He is 10th place overall, and we'll watch him throughout the day, of course. Here come the pro drivers again. Becky Ely under a lot of pressure here. Look at that. This could be a free ride moment as Mike Bell tries to get alongside Oliver Day and Becky Ely all in one go here. In towards the bus stop chicane, and through goes Oliver Day. Mike Bell can't quite follow.
No, and Day was able to find his way through the door there. Bell tried to head through the door at the same time, but there just wasn't enough of a stretch for him to get through, and that was not the best way to exit the bus stop. And so he's going to be under attack unless he can just get into the slipstream of Ely-Clark as they come around. Ely-Clark absolutely twitching coming through the last banking before the front stretch, and this should be slam dunk here for Mike Bell as we begin the 3rd lap of this race.
Yep, Johnny Gutierrez getting a dual toe, but the Mike Bell driven car on the outside line not going so well round the outside here. The Jaguar, now he's going to go for it. Oh, he's squeezed a little bit there, and off in the background there. Johnny Gutierrez goes wide through turn 1, and he goes off as Mike Bell completes the overtake. There's Gilles Lalonde just coming through the grass and the dirt and all sorts in the background. He's still in the lead of the AMS. There's Johnny Gutierrez. He drops to 8th place in the pro class.
Yeah, it was a bad mistake by Gutierrez, but that was contributed by Ely-Clark getting out of shape. She struggled to get that car so down into turn 1, and that what made Gutierrez run wide. And Corpi, we're just seeing there ahead of Mike Bell, And you could just see the classification in all the classes. Beninka leading by a couple of seconds over Corby in Pro. In Pro-Am, it's Ely Clark ahead by 2.5 seconds over Tavanari. And in Am, it's Lalonde, who we just saw a moment ago. He is 2 seconds clear over his nearest rival, is Angelinas in the number 5. So far, so good for Beninka, who is continuing to pull away. We're looking at Corby. You can see in your picture trying to catch up to him. It's not going to be very easy, though, and he's going to be under attack from Herlock, who's less than the second back.
2 hours 20 still to go. This race off to a frighteningly quick start here, as Eduardo Beninka has set fastest lap last time round, 1:44.3. We'll monitor those laps over the course of the day, not expecting to see much below 44, to be honest, as everybody tries to save fuel early. That's a big slide behind Magnus Dauger, and Timon Subic there sliding his way through there in the Jaguar. Get away with it, and out onto the banking again towards the end of another lap. So this will be a battle for 11th place in the Pro class. As you mentioned, Lalonde is still leading in the hours, but by a much smaller margin than before. He's now at 13th place overall as Corby goes quicker again, 42.7. He catches up now to Beninka, the gap less than 7/10 of a second. So interesting though how the target time being 1:44, he's already broken that pretty comfortably.
Yeah, a long way clear, about 1.6 seconds faster to what Beninka had done there, did Corby, and he's really gaining ground all the time. I don't know what his strategy is like though. As you can see, a yellow flag is in sector 2. We'll find out what is going on involving that. It's come away very, very...
We'll see who that is. Oliver Newman may have gone off. We're not sure just for the moment. There's a couple of drivers who seem to be a bit out of place to me. Not sure. We'll get to the bottom of it though. In a few moments' time, we'll get any replays if there is anything to watch here. When we can, Becky Clark sliding through the West Horseshoe. That was a big slide on the way in there for her, as behind her, Johnny Good, who is, it's Roger De Bruyne, who's directly behind her. Here is the battle for the lead, though. Risto Corby on the back of Eduardo Beninka, and this is so interesting from Corby to be right on the back of Beninka here already. Up towards the back of him he goes, and then stays behind into the bus stop. Set the fastest lap of the race last time round. He was going below that magic 1:44, and it looks like he's still going below it. These two pushing hard right now.
This should be, it should be a slam dunk overtake here for Corby. You can just see he's in the slipstream so much quicker than him over the last couple of laps. You can just see he's coming into his zone now, and yeah, he should get this done before they get to turn 1. But I don't know what his strategy is going to be compared to what Beninka's doing, because it feels like Beninka is trying to save as much fuel as possible. And will he decide to let him go through at this stage? No, Corby interesting decides to hold back. You can just see as he applied the brakes, he had a big twitch to try and counter, and the same also for Beninka. So it feels like the drivers are struggling to get the car slowed down towards turn 1.
I suspect that Corby wanted to, I'll get back to that. We've got a replay here. First of all, what's happened through the bus stop chicane. Oh, it is just a scrape on the wall and a big bit of contact there on the way on towards NASCAR turns 3 and 4. Now, that is a very scary off-track moment, and back on again, thankfully, for everybody involved. We've also got somebody dropping down the field here after a yellow in Sector 1 again. We will get any replays as and when we can find them, and there indeed someone spun at turn number 1 there. Not sure who that was quite. Wayne Hutchinson has sped off on the last lap as well, by the way. Did a 1:19 middle sector, which is a very, very long time. Elko Bussink as well may have gone for a spin in the first sector, so I think that explains the last couple of yellow flags. And in Hutchinson's case, by the way, he's still not over the line to complete the previous lap, whereas these guys are making their way to the bus stop chicane. This is what happened down into turn number 1 for Gutierrez. He was on the sort of back of a battle here, as Becky Ely Clark was trying to hold a few people back and just seemed to run himself out of road there.
Yeah, that's almost, I don't think it was Ely Clark's fault as I thought it was, but it just feels like Gutierrez just couldn't get the car slowed down in time. He was focusing more on the cars ahead of him instead of trying to get the car slowed down for the tyre. But now we're looking at the leaders for the lead overall, both in the same class as well, Beninka and Corby. So I would expect there to be a change for position, a yellow flag in sector 2, and we've got a penalty being dished out, and I think that's to the Pro-Am leader of Tavanari.
Yeah. No, so you could. I thought so. You could Takanashi there. Yeah, it was Takanashi. Yeah, so he is third in the Pro class, and he's coming into it right away. So that is a very early penalty for him, and he will drop down as a result. I'll tell you what I think's going on here, by the way, with Risto Corpi, just before something else happens, and I lose my train of thought. I think he's caught up to the back of Eduardo Benenka, not to pass him, but I think he did that 42 just to get into his slipstream, get into his orbit, if you like, and use his slipstream to save a little bit more fuel than Benenka's able to. And so, we know these cars can go much quicker than the 44s and 45s they're currently doing. So he just turned the pace on for one lap there, get in the slipstream, and save the fuel. This, meanwhile, is what happened into the bus stop chicane, and that is off the track for a couple of drivers, actually, through the bus stop chicane, but they'll get away with it and they'll get back onto the circuit. That was Oliver Newman, who's currently running down in 27th position in the C1 Pro-Am class. That's an overall position, by the way. He is last in Pro-Am as things stand, as you can see on the left-hand side. Newman 8th position in Pro-Am already. What do you reckon? This strategy, a good one perhaps from Corby? We'll get back to that in a second. We'll have another replay first on the run down in towards turn number 1. We did see a car spun round a little bit further down, but this is a separate one. This is the 47 car going off for a spin down at the very back of the field. That was Elko Bussing just a couple of laps ago going for a spin.
Yeah, so Bussing just not able to get the car so down in time, and Oliver Newman just carried too much speed into the bus stop, hence why he missed the apex and had cut the chicane. And now we're seeing the two leaders of Pro, Benenka and Corpi, and like you say, Corpi seems to be happy to sit in behind and just save some fuel for the time being, because he knows that's his race. He's got a big gap over her lot behind, and yeah, it looks like these two are going to be fighting out for the win later on, but of course there is still a long way to go in this race. We are only 10 minutes in, and we've seen a lot of action already so far. Wayne Hutchison down a lap already on the leaders. He's down in 34th and last place. We're going to get a...
Let's have a look at what happened to Wayne Hutchison. It looked like he was hit there pretty hard. Yeah. This is a big crash down towards the West Horseshoe. Biggest crash of the season so far, and I'm afraid it's for Wayne Hutchison, who lost a lot of time as a result of that. That's why he's way down, and he's already a lap down in this race.
Not good to see, and it just looked clumsy as well. It was almost similar to the one we saw on the exit of the bus stop involving two other drivers, but now looking at Corpi, who is on the rear of that, and now we're looking at a separate battle. This is the...
Oh, yes. Yeah. Luca Tavanari is ahead of Becky Ely-Clark, which is why we come back to look at the Pro-Am lead. The lead has changed very quickly, but we suspected this might happen. The March Porsche dropping backwards, the Jaguar moving forwards for Luca Tavanari.
So Luca Tavanari then maintaining the advantage over Ely-Clark, who was on pole earlier thanks to her brilliant qualifying performance, but she's now playing catch-up, and she's a long way clear over third place driver. Just trying to see the name. I know it's surname Smith, but I hear the name Smith so many. It's Ross Smith. Yeah, thank you very much. But yeah, it's been that sort of race so far with Ely-Clark just keeping up with it, not rushing things too much. As for the AM class, we've got Angelides, who's still leading the way over 7 seconds clear over Maya. Lalonde was the leader earlier from what we were discussing about, but he's dropped down to third place. Can't remember what lap we are on now, because this race is flown by. I think this is because I keep track of like what laps 1, 2 and 3, and then as all the battles are happening.
Yeah, we've done 8 laps now, and we're on lap 9. Yeah, it's pretty dizzying around here actually. Daytona. You do feel like you're going in circles quite often, which of course you always are in a race, but you get the point. It's very dizzying indeed. So 3 seconds indeed for Tavanari, and Corpi still in behind Benenka. That is the closest leading battle on the circuit, but they're not really battling, to be honest. They are just saving fuel for the moment. Just over 10 minutes in, about 15 minutes in. This is further back in the pack, where we've got Dahlgren trying to come back through the field by the looks of... excuse me, not Dahlgren. I'm not talking about Dahlgren. He's a long way further back from here. He's 28th at the moment. He's had a pretty disastrous start. Voucher de Bruin is the one we're looking in at here. The top of the group actually is Becky Ely-Clark, who is a bit further up the road than this, and maybe actually getting a little bit more free now. But Voucher de Bruin certainly on the outside line here for George Angelides at the moment, and this is still side by side and through for de Bruin. So Angelides is now leading in the AMs. Oh, and he's coming back again. So he lost the position through the corner. Now he's coming back again. By the looks of things, straight back through again. Further and back in the background, by the way, Meyer is on the back of these guys. Peter Meyer, he's in one of the MCAT Aston Martins, so he'll be looking to overtake Angelides, but not if this one carries on in towards the bus stops again. Has a look down the inside, can't do it. Steaming down the inside there. goes another one of the Lanciers. That looked like Jules Lalonde there in the background who was coming through, and it was. He came through on the inside line, he got past Meyer. This is so busy early on, 15 minutes into the new season.
Indeed, lots of battles going on. Seemed De Bruyne in your picture for the time being. Now we're going back to the top two of Beninka and Corpy. Corpy still happy to sit in behind for the time being. They're going to be coming up to back markers soon, these two. Now I know it's early on in the race, we're only on lap 10, but it's going to come a point where they're going to be navigating their way through back markers. So we've got a long way to go in this one. The top 7 positions overall are pro drivers. The highest of the Pro-Ams is Luca Tavinari, who just posted.
We've got news of a DNF further down the field. I'm afraid Gabriel Mora is out of the race, our first retirement of the season. We'll try and get word as to why in a few moments' time and what happened, but we will be back to that in a few moments' time. In the meantime, Jules Lalonde here is ahead of Peter Meyer. As you can see, he's in the red MK Aston Martin, just in the middle of your shot. Just further up the road is Jules Lalonde in the Lancia in the white, green and orange. And Meyer's going to be overtaken here if he's not careful. He's having to protect the inside line here, down the inside from Yukitaki Nashi, who is in 19th place at the moment. But this is all, as I say, stemming from Ross Smith now, who's at the head of this group in 13th place, right the way down, arguably, to Robin Moling down in 22nd. It's a 10-driver group at most, if we're being generous. And it's very busy indeed, as new fastest lap of the race has come in for somebody. Risto Corpy's got it overall. Tavinari has got it in class. It's new personal best. That's a Pro-Am best lap, by the way. 45.9. It's just improved there. There you go. 45.9 for Luca Tavinari. So he is improving and still leading by 5 seconds now in Pro-Am.
Super job from Tavinari so far. A splendid race by his standards. We've just seen someone move over to the left there, probably just to get out of the slipstream. And they are continuing on their way. They're just going through single file at turn 1. And you can just see the sun is kind of setting a little bit. We're coming towards the end of the day over at Daytona. We're going to get a replay. This is...
have a look at that. And there was big contact down there. That's Becky Ely in the purple, you can see, who just snuck through. I'm afraid not everybody did there, and so a pretty big accident on the way towards the banking. It's very congested from about 13th place overall backwards. You can absolutely see how that would happen, and as you say, it is absolutely getting darker as well right now. The sun is setting here at Daytona. It is, of course, of all the 24-hour races in the world, one of the longest periods of darkness, and we're going to have a very long period of darkness right in the middle of this race as well. But once we're on the other side and the sun's risen again, everybody's going to realise they're very close to the end of this one.
I should think so as well. As you can see, we're looking at Peter Meyer in the 042 and Vinicius Calves in the 029 in his Lancia LC2. And coming through the back stretch they come. This is the bus stop chicane they'll be heading through now. Will they both circulate through there? Not too shabby through there. We're going to get a replay again. I wonder if this is...
This is how Becky dropped down another place at the hands, I think, of Timon Suvic. Is that down the inside here? This is how she lost the lead to Luca Tavinari on the inside. They're in very similar liveries. That's thrown me a bit, but anyway, through goes Tavinari and up into the lead. However, I can tell you in live pictures on live timing, Luca Tavinari is dropping down the field again. Becky Ely Clark is now back in the lead of the race because Tavinari is into pit lane. So a very early stop after just 15 minutes, and it looks pretty scheduled to me, unless there has been an off for him somewhere around the circuit. Yuki Takanashi, meanwhile, has been disqualified from the race. That's our second DNF of the day already. This one, our first disqualification of the season.
I wonder if he's refused to serve the penalty from what was given to him earlier, Ewan. That might be what contributed to the exact.
This is meanwhile what happened to Gabriel Mora to DNF. Spins the rear tyres up out of turn number 2, spins into the grass, and that is that for the driver of the Jaguar. So drop back to pit lane, and it became our first DNF of the season, unfortunately. Just a display of just how difficult these cars are to drive and just how frustrating it can be if it doesn't quite go right for you either. But it's certainly going all right for these guys at the moment. George Anderleed is still leading ahead of Gilles Lalonde in the red, and then Peter Meyer, who's also in the red, there you can see on the screen or Myers in the middle of the screen, apologies, Gonsalves is a bit further back. Meanwhile, this is for the lead. Corpy still shadowing Beninka, but look at that, traffic for the first time as darkness begins to fall.
Yep, so we've seen the headlights come on for these drivers, so this is going to make for a different race now compared to what we've seen earlier. But you can just see how hard Corpy is pushing. I wonder if he's coming into his attack mode now and giving Beninka a little bit more of a hard time. So they're coming towards the back. You can just see Beninka out of shape on the exit of the horseshoe, and that's not going to help him one bit. But now that he's coming up to the back mark, he should be able to sail past that without any problems.
Should do, but does he decide to stay behind and fuel save here? They've been doing all right for fuel saving so far, 1:44s lap time wise. So they've been actually saving quite a lot. Maybe we are going to see a bit of a faster run home here between these two, as they now catch up to the back of lap traffic for the very first time. This is, I think, Stephen Miller, who's about to go lap down for the first time. It is indeed. Oh, and he's just in the way through the middle of the bus stop chicane. Doesn't really know where to go. Beninka will get down the inside. Corpy can't quite follow. These are the danger points. You can certainly lose the leader if you're trailing, and Corpy has indeed lost his slipstream to the leader.
Yeah, that's cost Corpy time, being stuck behind. He had to fight his way through, rather than the fact that the back marker just couldn't get out of the way. But this is the battle for 6th position, or 5th position rather. That's Mike Bell, who is in front of Tammy and Johnny Gutierrez, coming through the final banking before the front stretch. And you can just see he's flashing yet.
Oh, that's why he's flashing. Oh my goodness, a big on the NASCAR turns 3 and 4 banking, and it's happened seemingly a long way away from any corners at all. We'll get to the bottom of that in a few moments time, but there was certainly a big crash going on up ahead there. I don't know if it's related or not, but Wayne Hutchison has suddenly retired from the race. He's going to finish down in 8th place in the outclass, unfortunately, and we'll see if he was involved in that crash. It did look like the same car that Becky Healy's driving was involved, and he has gone back to pit lane here. So let's have a look at a replay as to what happened here. This is in towards the bus stop chicane, and a big spin in the infield. Oh, have a look at that big spin round the infield section there for Wayne Hutchison, and that, I think, is that for him. Yes, indeed it is, and he's retired. So that is unrelated clearly to the banking incident there we just saw through NASCAR turns 3 and 4, which I think was Luca Tabanari who was sliding down the banking on that occasion. He's dropped down to 7th place now in the purple car, but meanwhile Bell and Tabby go side by side. We'll get back to that in a few moments time. Let's have a look at the replay. He's nowhere near a corner. I can't really understand this. He clips the banking. Oh no, he clips the aprons, I should say. He tries to save it. He does quite a good job for quite a while, but unfortunately he crashes, and it's a miracle he was avoided. He was just scraped there by Mike Bell, that looked like, in the Jaguar, and my goodness, Tavanari there is lucky he's not caused a bigger crash. He'll be furious with himself for that.
Yeah, he'll be furious he made that mistake, and it would have been even more embarrassing if he took out Mike Bell. So that is Tavanari's race effectively ruined there. He's still circulating, I believe, albeit 2 laps behind. But yeah, that's his race ruined, unfortunately, and now he's left himself with more work to do down the side. He's left the pits now as Tavanari, so he's still 7th place in Pro-Am, but a long way off everyone else.
Absolutely, we will see where he gets to by the end of the day. This is Mike Bell's view of it. He would have seen it going. Look at the headlights going around there. He doesn't really know where to go. Oh, hello, that's it. Oh, and he's done an amazing job to save that. How he saved that, I will never know. He gives a bit of a flash of the lights there to somebody. I bet he'll be breathing a few sighs of relief after that one. That was a really close moment. Normally, you do want to stay out the banking there when someone's crashing on the banking, because generally gravity will slide them down the hill, but it didn't really that time round, and Mike Bell had to do an incredible job to keep that on the road.
Don't know whether Tavanari was trying to do some form of disco dance the way that car was moving on the banking, but he's a very lucky man. Mike Bell did take a hit from that and nearly collected Johnny Gutierrez as he came back onto the track. So that would have been a concertina collision had that come off worse. But now we're looking at the battle here. This is for 5th place. That is Gutierrez ahead of Tammy and Bell as they're all heading through the bus stop chicane. Beninka's lead is only 1 second over Corpy. Corpy just keeping them honest before they start pitting. And now we are heading into the sort of, not the dawn phase, but the sort of overnight phase of the race here in Daytona. And that is the eye's view of what it's like for Mike Bell to chase us after Tammy for 6th position in class.
Absolutely. This race, as I mentioned earlier, is going to be set to a 10 times time scale, and so it will get light again before the end of the day. I'm not sure what time of day it actually started in sim. Actually, can't seem to quite work that out. Doesn't seem to be. I need to have a little look at all the information again and try and find that out. But it seemed to get dark very quickly, although, as I said earlier, it does get dark very quickly at this time of year in Daytona. So that's worth noting. I think around 5:30, probably 6 o'clock, it's probably full dark. So it wouldn't have taken very many hours at all in sim for it to get dark. Meanwhile, this is what's been happening in towards the bus stop chicane. This is that huge group further down in the midfield. It's been pretty remarkable action so far today. Oh, we missed the apex for that second part of the bus stop chicane. That is one of our keys to the race. Perfect line through the bus stop chicane. I'm afraid that hasn't quite happened on that occasion.
No, definitely not. But it was lucky to get back onto the circuit without taking anyone with him. And we're looking back now at Mike Bell, who's still going after Tammy, making up for lost time. And we want to stick. The fact he might have some damage on the car, thinking of it, because of that scrape that he had with Tavanari, and yeah, that might have unsettled the balance of the machine. And now we are looking at the battle for 13th overall between Bradley Sellers and Ethan Funk. Now, we spoke about Ethan Funk earlier, about what his aims were for the season. He's aiming for 1 overall win, but he's only really expected to do no more than 50% of the races.
Yeah. So what's that, about 5 races or so? If we
about
take
6.
that as word. About 6, yeah. So we will see whether he is able to achieve that or not, as he makes his way now down the straight towards the bus stop chicane. This is battle for an overall position a bit further down here. It's 19th overall, in case you're interested. Bradley Sellers currently holding that place ahead of Ethan Funk, then Alexander Schultz a little bit further down. Through the bus stop chicane they go. Now properly in the darkness, back out onto the banking again. Funk just in the background, just slipstreaming here, and doing his best to get on terms again with Bradley Sellers. So just in behind them is Alexander Schultz and the Jaguar, and these times at the moment are pretty slow compared to qualifying. I understand there's a lot of fuel on board, but these drivers are saving a lot of fuel at this end of the race, because it might be more difficult to do a little bit later on as Schultz gets down the inside of Funk here. And well, I thought he was going to go through, but the better braking from the Porsche sees him get back through into 14th.
Well, there we go. That just underlines the potential of what the Porsche can do. Mayak holds on for the time being. Lalonde is not giving up though, so the battle for Am right now, the lead anyway for that, is coming into its zone with 3 drivers less than 1.5 seconds off each other. We've got a change for position. It looks like Bell has got through on Tammy at last. He's got up into 6th place as Mike in his Jaguar XJR6, and the next driver ahead of him will be Johnny Gutierrez, who'll be desperate to get back through against.
Yeah, good point. So that's quite a gap to close, but I'm sure he'll be trying to. Well, it's only a couple of seconds, I suppose. He'll be trying to do that in the next few moments. Sellers leads a right group on the banking here. Although, to be fair, he's caught up to Vinicius Gonçalves in 7th place. This is how it happened for Mike Bell to get through into the bus stop chicane. Nice bit of slipstream later on the brakes, and holds the inside line, so gets through into that position. That is position number 6, both in class and overall, by the way. So a good lap down the inside and through. A very good evening, by the way, to everyone who's watching along at home and chatting along with us. Apologies that I've not been able to monitor it too much. Sounds like people are chatting amongst themselves, which is fun. But there's been a lot going on in this race so far, which is certainly true. 30 minutes just about gone as we go back and have another look at a replay in towards turn number 1 here. Becky Ely-Clark was on pole for the race as a whole here today, but I'm afraid this race has gone from bad to worse early on. She spun around in towards turn 1 and she's now 11th.
Yeah, I don't know whether she just applied so much brake pressure into the corner there, which locked the rears and sent her around. Either way, Becky Ely-Clark's race goes from, well, I say it goes from bad to worse. She's still leading the Pro-Am class, but it feels like she's made more mistakes than what the position that she is in suggests. So Ely-Clark, I would say, has got some work to do where she is at to avoid making those kind of mistakes. Sellers is in a good place right now ahead of Schultz.
Here is the livery on the bottom right. It is a good looking livery. Although the only complaint I've got is that quite a lot of people have gone for purple and pink this season, so I can't really tell them apart very well. But that's my problem more than theirs. We'll get used to that over the course of the season, that's for sure. Just less than an hour 55 to go in the race, and Mr. Corpy's taken the lead for the first time ahead of Eduardo Panenka. Last time around he was 1.1 seconds quicker in the Jaguar, as Schultz here meanwhile gets alongside Bradley Sellers here for 13th in the Pro class. As the rest of them behind watch on, and it's going to be easily done for Schultz on the outside line, and so he goes through into the bus stop.
Nicely done by Schultz, doing it before getting to bus stop ahead of Sellers, and we'll sooner rather than later get a replay of what happened in relation to the change of lead involving Corpy and Paninka, because Corpy was sat a number of laps behind Paninka before he eventually got the move done, but now we are looking at Sellers who's just been who's just been overtaken again. Just trying to see who that was that got by him, because I know that was someone out of position to where he was at, unless I'm mistaken with that. I think it might have been, just looking through my notes, probably looking at the incorrect positions right now, because it looks like Schultz and Sellers are in their class positions rather than overall. We're getting a replay now of Risto Corpy's overtake on Eduardo Paninka, and this is at the bus stop chicane. Is that was at the front stretch? It's the front stretch.
Yeah.
So this is Corpy. Ooh, very nearly
Close.
dropping it as well.
That was very close, to contact between the two, but they get away with it, and Corpy gets the lead. Interesting tactics though there. Why would he, after sitting behind for the first half an hour here, suddenly decide that he wants to go out in front and lead here? I can't really understand it. Paninka, while we've been watching that replay, has gotten back into the lead himself. So why are these two exchanging position, other than the fact it is entertaining for us to watch? What is the tactical benefit to them exchanging the lead like that? I'm not sure.
We'll wait and see later on, but we are seeing a battle now between Sellers and Funk. This is for class position, and that is showing class positions of Sellers and Funk. But sorry, that's not Funk. That's I think is that Maya who is behind? I can't quite see. Maya, I know, is having like a red livery on his machine there, but no.
It's Punk. Funk, sorry. In 15th place it is. Sellers just in front. Then Robin Morling is 23rd, just in behind them, and then there's a big gap further in the back. Yeah, the only confusion is that the small car didn't match the big car there, but it was Funk. Anyway, down in towards turn 1. This is how it happened. Was it an error from Corpy? He's a little bit wide, but not that much, and Paninka just slips through on the inside line. Well, that wasn't a very big error at all, as I say, but that is enough for the lead to change.
It was quite a weird mistake there from Corpy, because you would have thought he got it done at turn 1, which I think he did, but he just couldn't get the car slowed down the next time they went through there. So he's lost the lead of the consequence. Ethan Funk now behind Bradley Sellers, 4 positions still. And how long before he gets his overtake done? And this.
Here we go then on another replay. This is Gilles Lalonde dropping it on the exit. There you go. Oh, a big snap as well. He was chasing the AM lead that is currently being held by George Andolidis. And Gilles Lalonde now is 5 positions behind him. This is a difficult start to the season for Gilles Lalonde, that is for sure. And a difficult start to this race, considering he was on the pole position in his class. This, meanwhile, is the battle for 6th between Mike Bell and JT Tami, by the looks of things. And So what's this overall? Also 6th and 7th because, by the way, the top 10 positions overall are all pros at the moment, and up to 28th place are all off the lead lap now. So that is 3 cars 1 lap down and 3 DNFs or DQs so far in this race. However, this race is about to get a lot busier because there's a big group that's being headed by Troy Ewan. It's got Oliver Newman, John Ian, Jerry Chen and Elko Bussington. They're all about to be lapped by the leaders, and then not long after that, the group for 15th place we've just been watching with Sellers involved is going to be passed as well by the leaders. So these leaders have got a lot of working through traffic to do in the next few moments.
I would say so as well. There's Troy Ewan ahead of Oliver Newman in the, well, it's both for pro and, I say it's both for pro, they're in their own class, so I was just looking at the pro drivers on the timing page, but they're in a battle of their own. This is Sellers and Funk going through turn 1 again. Brief yellow flag for the time being. That's because someone, yeah, there was a car off at turn number 1 there. Couldn't see who that was. That
Alexander Schultz, maybe. Didn't think it quite looked like him, but well, we'll see in a few moments' time. Haven't got any better guesses just for the moment. Might have been. No, it was George Angelidis in the AM lead, was it? Oh no, it was. Oh, there's 2. So there's Angelidis just up ahead, and there in the 82 car is Alexander Schultz. So he was the second one to go off, but Angelidis has lost the lead in the AMs, and this is how he did it in towards turn 1. We mentioned it. Keys to the race, brave through turn number 1. That was a bit too brave, unfortunately, for the AM leader.
Yeah, just got on the grass, got 2 wheels on the grass. It just dragged him off the circuit, and there's that's Schultz going off in sympathy. I don't know where he was put off by.
Walter de Bruin also has been off, by the way, and need to be perfect through the bus stop chicane, and he wasn't on this occasion. There goes Ethan Funk down the inside of Bradley Sellers for 14th place in the pro class, and through he goes. This is so busy though, and the leaders aren't that far from lapping these guys. What a difficult moment that's going to be, and same for it is coming through these guys as well. Big battle now headed by Oliver Newman, who's just made this pass for 4th in the class.
Yeah, very well done there to Newman. We didn't see the overtake from him on Ewan, but at least he's got the job done now anyway, up into 4th place in Pro Am. The next driver ahead of him is Molin, who is around about 11 seconds ahead. The yellow flag in sector 2, someone has had a spin somewhere, but at least
like it might be Jules Lalonde again here. We'll have a look in a few moments' time. The yellow flags are going all over the sectors here at the moment. Here we go, down in towards turn number 1. Big head of steam here in towards the first corner. Too late on the brakes, and the big spin and a big crash perhaps as well. Oh, there's the wall. There's the wall to collect to at the end of it all, and that's Jules Lalonde, who's going to drop a long way down in the field now.
There's a bad spin there, and now he's left himself with a lot of work to do, and will he be able to get back to the pits for repairs? I think this time he is in the pits, he'll need more time than he'll want just to get that repair job done, because it was quite a hard hit into the wall, but now he's left himself with a lot of work to do. Maya now in the lead of Am, ahead of Gonzalez and Angelidis, who's in 3rd place.
Yeah, so that's because of Angelidis going off the road at turn 1. He's now dropped to 3rd place. Lalonde is no longer anywhere nearby because he's had that crash, as we just saw. So it's Maya versus Gonçalves at the front of the field. We will try and keep abreast of that, of course. It's been pretty easy going so far for Becky Lee Clark after regaining the lead anyway, because of the incident for Luca Tavanari on the straight. He's, by the way, 2 laps down now, and a long way back from even the next car in the field. 2 laps down, that is, on the overall leaders, who are Eduardo Paninka and Risto Corpi, making their way now onto the banking again with an hour 45 to go. This is turning into a good battle between the two, and it looks like they've done some heavy fuel saving early, so they can push on a bit later on. Still in the 45s though, as things stand. This is another overtake further down the field here. The way towards turn 1. Newman versus Ewan, and that was very nice actually. Newman there gifted the place a little bit, really.
Wasn't a particularly big fan of the way he just flashed his lights through there. I know we're at this time of night, but Do you ever like to see drivers flash their lights just to say, I'm coming through, get out of the way, and then the car ahead of them just slows down and lets them through? Do you think that's a really sporting way to overtake someone?
No, I don't mind personally. If they want to do it, they can do it. As far as it goes for me, in my opinion, it's if you. I think at this stage of the race, by the way, it's probably not a bad idea to move out the way for someone else if they're a lot quicker than you anyway. But that's besides the point. I think, if you're silly enough to respond to the flashing of the lights, then that's your fault, in my opinion. But that might just be me. It is. I get it. I get it. It does look a bit rude, I guess, sometimes. But yeah, I mean, there's no reason why not. And I think it looks quite. It's part of the atmosphere, I think, especially at this time of night. As you say, the flashing of the lights makes it look like you're at some sort of rave, because there's headlights making such a difference on the road. And as you can see, the floodlights are not making an impression on the road, because this is 1985. And even in the real world these days, the floodlights are turned down to make it even look like nighttime driving. But this is certainly more at nighttime than you would normally get here at Daytona. This is proper night driving. You've probably got to pick your braking zone out here from the bus stop chicane. I mean, look at down at the bottom right there. Difficult to see where you're going into this fast section of corners.
Looking at the battle for the lead now, this is Beninka and Corby. We've gone away for a bit, and now we're looking back. We're 40 minutes into the race, and the leaders are coming around to complete their 24th lap, I would assume, if I remember correctly. They're now on lap 25, and Corby holds the fast lap of the race with 1:42.7. Don't know what his last lap time was like, but the last lap he did, I think, was the fastest final sector that he had done throughout the race so far. So Corby still showing some pace from what we've seen earlier, hence why he got by Beninka, albeit briefly, but nevertheless it's been a strong performance from him.
A bit wide there for one of the urns, but he's through now, the two of them. Yellow flag meanwhile in the first sector. We'll get to the bottom of that if we can, as Beninka now makes his way through the fast left-hander and in towards the west horseshoe, in towards the corner. Corby was pretty closely tailed there by one of the lapped drivers. This is going to be a race of putting people a lap down. I think the difference in terms of speed between some of these cars is quite significant. Let's have a look in towards turn one as to why that yellow flag was brought out. Down on the brakes, Lalonde, sliding, spinning, spinning around. I mean, when things start to go badly, I'm afraid they tend to get worse, and that's what's happened for the former leader of the AM class.
Yeah, that's him going round there, and now he's leaving stuff.
And he's spin off again apparently as well. So it's a day that's really going from bad to worse for him now. Where is he? 5th place in the AM class. As well, nearly a minute off the lead as well. That's really damaging. And it looks like he's off again. Yeah, I can see him losing a lot of time to his class leader, and a yellow flag out at the same time. It looks like he might have even been off again. So we'll very much try and put him out of his misery, because he's having a pretty miserable 40 minutes or so as these leaders make their way towards the start finish line, as does the battle for 4th place in the AM class. Oliver Newman still hanging on here ahead of Troy Ewan in towards turn number 1, and does so pretty well as they all stack up behind one another. Still feels very busy out there, considering we're over 40 minutes into this race.
Couldn't agree more. And Newman is coming up behind. I think that is someone who, you remember, he went off earlier. And it's Alexander Schultz who they are putting a lap on. So they're looking at Peter Meyer and finishes Gonçalves, who the leaders of the AM class of Meyer and Gonçalves, and we've also got a battle for the lead still between Beninka and Corby in Pro. We've got a yellow flag again in sector 2, so we'll find out who this job.
George Angelidis, wow, he's the previous AM leader, and unfortunately it's also going. So AM leading is seemingly a bit of a curse at the moment. Don't tell that Peter Meyer, who is currently the leader, but this is going from bad to worse for Jules Hollande, and now also for George Angelidis as well, who is now down to 3rd place, and his 3rd place is a lot more under threat as well after this in towards turn 6 on the bumps. Well, that was spinning around before the bumps. He's trying to get on the power, trying to do it as quickly as possible, trying to control the slide, but he couldn't quite do it, and he spins into the grass.
Yeah, and so he just got the power down too early, and the moment he lost it and found the grass, there was only one way he was going to end up. Yeah. So he's lost a lot of time there, essentially, as the cars come through on through the banking. You don't really want to rejoin at such low speeds. So you want to just stay within the hard shoulder, as we call it in the UK, before you take your place on the banking on the racing line.
I don't know what they call it in America, actually. Do they even have them? I don't know. Meanwhile, this is JT Tommy on the back of Mike Bell in towards turn 1, and they're all closing in on the lead, by the way. This is still a very close race. Has some lap traffic, there you go. There is Angelidis on the inside line, I believe, and he is going to be sticking to the left. There you go. Through comes Tammy on the right-hand side through that little chicane. Someone's flashing the lights in the background, meanwhile, as they make their way into the International Horseshoe. Mike Bell still holding on to place at the moment, 17 seconds off the lead, as Luca Tavanari is still going very quickly around the back, by the way. He is 7th in Pro-Am. We'll check in on him a little bit later on, because he is clearly making some time. 100 minutes to go in the race, and we've had plenty of action so far. Let's have a look at some more of it down in towards the West Horseshoe. You can see that going wrong from quite a long way out, and a big spin down there as well for even Miller, is it, in the background. So that was always going to happen. He was braking late on the inside line of the West Horseshoe, and just spun round. It just seemed like these cars are quite easy to spin round, especially on the rear brakes.
I don't know what the rear axles are like on these machines, but they just seem very prone in just not allowing the car to ride its way through the apex as sweetly as the driver would want them to. But it feels like Corpy and Beninka have managed to find their setups okay, and you can just see Corpy wants to make the most of the slipstream, but well before turn 1 he just decelerates. He just doesn't really attack it, does he?
No. It's a very interesting way you have to drive these cars by the looks of things. As meanwhile, looks like Victor Gonçalves has been off from 2nd place in the AMS, I think, or is that somebody else? We'll see. He's just cut the bus stop chicane, we're hearing, so he's back on the circuit at least, but he's a second behind the AM leader, although that was about where it was before. These guys are now in the high 44s, by the way, in terms of lap time. Good fuel saving early on. I hope these two get to race it out full speed at the end, though. They're still very close together as we go up to the AM battles, and Ross Smith, or Pro-Am battles I should say, Ross Smith, who's in 2nd place in the Pro-Ams at the moment. He is only 18th overall, and he's the last car on the lead lap at the moment.
Yeah, Ross Smith doing a fine job, as you can see on screen. And what a beautiful livery that is there on the Porsche, the March 84G Porsche. And going back to saying about Tavanari, who had that spin on the last banking before the front stretch, he posted 2 personal best laps in a row. So he's very much making up for lost time, but he's still got a lot of work to do from where he is.
I guess he doesn't have as many laps to do anymore because he's a couple of laps down, so we'll keep an eye on that, as Peter Meyer is being caught now by Vinicius Gonçalves, who briefly went off in the bus stop chicane 1 lap ago. Now he's catching up to Meyer again, who will be feeling the pressure a little bit at the moment. Last time round, 47.3 from him, as Vinicius Gonçalves did a personal best lap time last time round.
Good job there from Peter Meyer, just keeping the advantage over Gonçalves in the AM class, heading through the International Horseshoe. And what a job Meyer has done. I don't think we've seen any mistakes from Meyer so far, but there is still an awful long way to go. Ely Clark, interestingly, stretching out that 24-second margin over Smith, Ross Smith that is, but that's not taking it away from Ross Smith, because as we've just mentioned, he's doing a fine race of it so far. And we've got to remember, Ely Clark was the driver that put it on pole, so we were kind of expecting that she was going to have strong enough pace over the Pro-Am drivers, but not quite anywhere near to fend off the pros.
This is busy, isn't it? Down the straight towards the fast left-handers. Someone's almost stopped on the apex there. Goodness me, this is busy back here as we follow Elko Bussing here right in behind Schultz. Oh, they're queuing up in behind here. Goodness me, this is a traffic jam. This is the battle for 21st overall. If we're looking at overall positions here, oh, goodness me, this is proper Group C racing, isn't it? Proper like the Group C days. So many manufacturers, so many different cars out there, all battling on a very small amount of circuit around here at Daytona. And here comes the Jaguar on Alexander Schultz. So Schultz is going to be overtaken here, not by Oliver Newman, but he's going to be lapped by looks like Bell to me, as he works his way down the back straight and in towards the bus stop chicane. And they all brake earlier than the others, try to avoid one another, but they all have to end up queuing again. This is just enthralling racing so far. Very, very busy, but very exciting. And still an hour 35 to go in the opening round.
Yeah, you can just see the classes, Beninka, Ely Clark and Maya. All doing terrific races. Beninka is still 3/10 off. So Corby's 3/10 off Beninka at the present moment. In terms of number of laps we've done, we're on lap 30, and we're going to be approaching the first round of stops, aren't we soon, Ewan?
Well, that is if they make a stop. That's the mystery, I suppose. We've passed the point in the day where we were going to see 2-stop strategies. I'm not sure that was ever really going to happen, but the 1-stop certainly it's going to be open. The halfway point is just over 20 minutes away. What are we now? 50 minutes into the race. I guess if you would wanted to do a 2-stop race, you would have pitted by now. Meanwhile, John Ewan is past Ross Smith. These two great drivers in the Modern Series. John Ewan repassed though by the 00, and so Ross Smith is back into the top 5 again. It feels like he's dropped back a little bit from where he was before, as Ewan looks round the outside through the West Horseshoe. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say he had an off somewhere, did you? And I wonder if it was at turn 1. No, so Ross Smith, my apologies. Yep, so this is just going a little bit too much. So he caught the grass and was very, very lucky to keep out of the wall there. There was a good job there was that little bit of open grass and not any more barrier to hit. But he has lost 3 positions in class, if not 4, thanks to that off.
Yeah, he had another one before that, by the way, as well. So we'll have a look at that. I did think he was a bit further back than where he was before. So this is going to be our answer. Ross Smith. Oh, turning. Oh, wow. He did a good job to snap that back in time to avoid the wall. And he did just about. It's the only car I can see in the dark here. But he's just snapped it back the right way to try and get himself back into the fray again. As that is a big run around the outside there for one of the drivers of another class. That is not the same class, or indeed the same lap, I should say, as John Ewan there, who just lets that one go. And we'll tuck in here in a few moments' time. This is at the bus stop chicane. Stephen Miller, who's well down in the back of the pack, by the way. He was almost stopping in the infield. We saw him earlier to try and let people through. He bobbles over the inside curb and spins very nearly right in front of somebody.
Yeah, very lucky he didn't collect anyone. That's I think that was Miller, wasn't it, that just had that spin at the bus stop. Yeah, so that'll be him. He's not had a good race so far, as we said, Stephen Miller. I think he's out of all. I think minus Tavanari, I think he's the last of all of those that is currently running. Tavanari looks like he's had another moment and has gone back into pit road, unfortunately.
Yeah, he has done, unfortunately, which is a shame. He's down in 7th place. He's a long way down now, but surely was one of the contenders for the race here this afternoon, and it's gone up in smoke into the second part. Just gets on the grass on the outside and spins again.
Yeah, I thought he was going to have a whack against the barrier there. That's just frustration. It's just frustration there for Tavanari, and he's gone back into pit road. He's back on the circuit now, but I think he's just going to go for some fast laps, and that's it.
I think so. The problem is he's going to run out of fuel at some point, so that's going to be a big problem for him at one stage, but never mind, I'll have to think about that a little bit later on. Meanwhile, the battle for the lead goes on in towards turn number 1. Eduardo Beninka still leads ahead of Risto Corpi. Busby's got a penalty. Becky Lee Clark has got a 40-second Pro-Am lead at the moment as things stand, and further down in the other class, in the AM class, it is Peter Meyer who is leading the way from Vinicius Gonçalves. That is also a battle that we are trying to keep abreast of for you here this afternoon. Just ahead here is Vinicius Gonçalves, so he's in the yellow. There is Peter Meyer in the red. There's a lap going between them. There's a lap going between these two and the lead, and the actual overall leaders, I should say. That was that yellow car you just saw a little bit further up the road, but this is two leading battles who are about to converge on each other here. Yeah,
so Beninka and Corby have got a decision to make how they go about getting past those two, because they're going. I think we've got a penalty notice as well, Ewan. Just wants to see who that is. Businka's got the penalty.
Served it apparently. I did see that pop up on the screen in a few moments ago, which is the time, unfortunately, that you have to make your way back in. Luca Tavanari, meanwhile, is making another pit stop as well. He is out of the running for a big position in this race, unfortunately, as Corpy there goes for a big slide through the bus stop chicane. We are getting to that stage in the race now where you might want to stop getting in front and getting some track position for certain parts of traffic, although that might have already happened if indeed you were going to do that, as Ross Smith here makes his way around the banking end and on his way towards the bus stop chicane again. Currently 5th place for Ross. I don't think he's going to be particularly pleased with the way that he's gone so far this season, but we will see how he goes as we have a look at John Ewan just in the bottom right of your screen, because he is catching ever so slightly in this battle for 5th.
It's a gap of 2 seconds actually, so Ross Smith is getting the hammer down. John Ewan's not as quick as he is, so I wonder if Ross Smith has preserved some fuel from earlier on just to try and go after the next driver ahead of him. Ross Smith, who is currently running in 5th place in the Pro-Am, and is going after Oliver Newman, who of which was one of the beneficiaries of Smith's spin or off into the turn 1. So now we're looking at another battle. This is Mike Bell and JT Tammy. This is for 6th place in Pro. Bell, who had a spirited race so far, very lucky he didn't get completely walloped by Tavanari. Yes, I will use that word for this material, walloped. But at the last turn before the pit straight, and yeah, he lived to fight another day then, did Bell. But thanks to his awareness of the situation, he was able to take evasive action and keep going. So hats off to him for that. But now he's got a battle on his hands with JT Tummy. And believe it or not, Gutierrez has shooted further up the distance in 5th place. He's catching Oliver Day, who is in 4th position. So the gap between Day and Gutierrez is less than 4 seconds as we are coming towards the halfway point. And there is the top sort of Corpy and Beninka. Now, will Corpy decide to go for it this time? No, he just sits back for the time being.
Towards turn 1, and there are the 2 leaders. There they are, Meyer versus Gonçalves, just a bit further up the road. There they are through the chicane and in towards the International Horseshoe. Now, what does Beninka decide to do? What do they decide to do about these guys coming up to the back of them here? Pretty big moment as far as this race goes, coming up right now with an hour 28 still remaining in the 2.4 hours of Daytona. We're closing in on 1 hour complete and closing in on half distance there in as well. Here we go in towards the West Horseshoe. Deep on the brakes here, and Beninka in a bit of a queue now, just in behind Gonçalves, who pulls over to the left hand side, or at least stays to the left after the corner. Just in the background there, a spinner through turn 1. We're not worried about them for the moment because Beninka's gone wide. Here goes Corpy. Is he going to go for the lead here, or what are we going to see? Gonçalves could have overtaken there, but decided there wasn't really any point. And so he now backs up. Look at the space that Meyer's got all of a sudden as he's slow on the straight. What's he doing here? He's very slow. And here comes Gonçalves on the outside line. That's a very strange one. Meyer going very slowly on the straight all of a sudden.
Yeah, but I don't know what happened to Meyer there. I mean, it felt to me like Beninka was about to lap him at turn 6 before they received back onto the oval. And all of a sudden, Meyer just lost pace. And I don't really know why he lost the amount of time he did. I know he had blue flags which he had to contend to, but I didn't expect him to get out of the way that slowly.
And also it's written in the rules that you don't have to jump out the way Formula 1 style, but you can't also be jumping around the place defending either. There's a fine line to be struck there, but yeah, you're right, that was not blue flag interference. I don't think that was just some other problem for Meyer on the straight there. He was exceedingly slow. For whatever reason on the straight. You can't really get to the bottom quite wide just for the moment. That means the AM leaders are a lap down then. It just shows you how quick these guys are at the front of the race. I mean, they are just driving absolutely fantastically at the moment, and to have already put a lap on those guys is quite amazing. It does mean that a lot of these drivers are going to be doing far less laps than the leaders will be. And that means a little bit less fuel required as well. I think based on the pace that we've seen so far, target fuel, by the way, per lap is 2.6 litres. That should be achievable with a 144 every lap. We haven't really seen very many lap times below 144. Only Risto Corpy has gone faster than that so far, as well as Daniel Hurlock. and they're their fastest laps of the race. Other than that, everybody else has been above 44s religiously here, so it looks like everybody's going to be pretty fine for fuel.
I think what has contributed to the pace as well is the fact that we're in darkness. Now, as the light fades, the track grip does reduce. So I wouldn't expect to see any 144s at this moment in time until, at the very earliest, sunrise. And then once the daytime of this track returns, then I think we'll start to see some drivers push a little bit more.
See, I think they could achieve it now, they're just choosing not to. I think it's still very much possible at this stage, but they're not. Meanwhile, Oliver Newman's been off down the field, I'm afraid. He is... where is he in the field now? He is 27th position. As Luca Tavanari, by the way, has DNF'd as well in the Pro-Ams. He was already 3 laps off the lead in Pro-Am, but his fate is now definitely sealed. As Valtteri de Bruyn gets past Alexander Schultz, that is for 15th place in class and 19th place overall, as Micah Dern is into pit lane. From the looks of my timing anyway, he doesn't seem to be in on the screen though. Well, that's because he's outside the top 8. That would explain a lot. He is not on our tower anyway, and I think, yes indeed, he has been into pit lane and back out again. I'm not entirely sure he came to a stop though. We will check on that as we have a look here at what happened to Newman. We saw it in the background while we were watching the battle for the lead, and that's how he found himself there.
Yeah, so spin at turn 1 for Newman, and he had another spin later on in the lap. This is at the West Horseshoe, I believe. He just caught the grass on the entry and just went straight on. Very easy to do that, thinking about it. It does look silly, but it's actually very easy to do when you try to position your car as you enter a hairpin like that.
It is very easy indeed. We'll be careful of it. Meanwhile, in the Pro class, the battle for 10th is on here between Adrian Rice and Magnus Dahlgren. It's actually top 10 overall as well. And Becky Ely Clark is just not too far behind them. There are her headlights just in 12th place further behind, just over 50 seconds behind her is Moling at the moment. That's 2nd place in the Pro-Am class. Meanwhile, out of the first corner, here comes Rice, very close indeed. Look at the way that Ross Smith was coming out of pit lane there, by the way. And if you saw that in the other shot, no pit limiter, of course. They're just flying into the pit lane and flying back straight back out again.
It's just like the old times, isn't it? I mean, after all, we all go back in time of 1985 with these machines, in case any of you are wondering. And this is Magnus Dahlgren, who's holding off Adrian Rice for the time being. We haven't spoken enough about Dahlgren or Rice, have we?
Haven't spoken too much about him, no. But a top 10 for him so far. Long time racer here at CMS. And he's... he's going to hold on now, because that in the background is Adrian Rice, who's going for the spin. And it will be Becky Ely Clark, who's now going to be chasing Magnus Dahlgren next for that 10th place overall. It was a very weird spin. I suspect he was trying to get out of the way of Ross Smith there, Rice, but he really sort of wobbled across the circuit out of the West Horseshoe and spun round.
So plays potentially for Becky Ely Clark. And we're going to get a replay to find out what happened to Adrian Rice. And yeah, he just... I think as he got on the power there, he had to catch the wheel spin and very nearly took out. Yeah, it was Ross Smith who'd just been out of the pits. I think he's a lap behind anyway. So we're being told that Oliver Newman has been off once more. He's had 2 spins the last time we saw of him. This is going to be a 3rd one in the space of a couple of minutes involving Oliver Newman, and we're going to see what happens. And this is on the entrance to the bus stop. Yeah.
He's pulling over a bit here. And, we're hearing it might be a blown engine. I'm not sure that's not just dust from the grass, to be honest with you.
That's definitely not dust. That's definitely an engine blow on Newman.
It's he's on the tarmac now and it's still going. So that would explain it is indeed smoke. I couldn't really tell. The dust at this time of night makes a very similar colour. Anyway, never mind. It looks like an engine for Newman, who is back to pit lane. He's DNF'd, I'm afraid. We were hearing a little bit about the engines in qualifying. You basically rev these engines up, especially the turbo cars, to effectively blow up in towards turn 1 on lap 2, because you're looking for the most boost possible. But I'm afraid that's not possible in the race, of course. And so Newman has DNF'd. And we've only got 5 left in the Pro-Ams now.
where we could have 4 because Ross Smith has found his way back into the pits. It looks like he's been in there for like 2 minutes, according to the classification. And this is Goncalves, who has had a spin of his own. This is on the exit of the bus stop. You don't want to point it the wrong way there, but hopefully he should get back on without any further dramas. And we're now looking at Becky Ely-Clark, who's absolutely dominated proceedings in the Pro-Am. And yeah, she's not had a lot to do, has she?
Not yet. Ross Smith, by the way, hasn't been in the pit lane for 2.5 minutes. That's just a tower thing. He's out on the circuit. He's doing fine. So 5 left in Pro-Am. Becky Ely-Clark at the head of them by some distance. This is Mike Bell, who's currently holding on to 6th place in Pro and overall in this race. Still plenty of battles going on around the circuit right now, with an hour 20 still remaining here at Daytona in the opening round of the Virtual World Sports Car Championship 1985 here in the Group C era. It's back in time here at Daytona. So we've got another driver down pit lane at the moment, and more pit stops happening. I'd imagine if you're going to change tyres at the halfway stage, then or change tyres once, I should say, than the halfway stage, which is coming up very soon, is a good time to do it. Now then, look at this. Bell is running right round the top of the banking there in towards 3 and 4 before JT Timing can get into the slipstream, and now he is going to hit. Look at the MCR Aston Martin here really gain in the slipstream on the Jaguar. One of my keys to the race, be brave in towards turn 1. Not going to be on this occasion. JT Timing is too far back to make the move this time.
No, too far back, and Timing just holds on as Mike Bell lives to fight another day. 6th position overall and in class for Mike Bell. He's got over 6 seconds to make up there on Johnny Gutierrez if he's going to have any hope of catching the 2 Lanciers ahead. Oliver Day, the other Lancier, in 4th position, going after Dan Hurlock. But the top 2 still unchanged for a time being, even though the fact that the gap has been less than a second.
Yeah, it's been a remarkable race between the 2 of them. Waiting to see what happens when one of them puts their foot down a little bit here. We'll wait and see on that front. Do either of them even pit in at any stage? It's going to be very interesting to find out, as well, as we've got a yellow flag in sector 2 at the moment, persisting, and it's Magnus Dahlgren who is off the road. He is way down outside the top 10 now in 12th position. He's the last spot on the lead lap, and he's about to go off the lead lap as well as he spins again. It's those rear brakes in towards one of the corners, this time the bus stop.
Yeah, he lost it right on the brakes on the entry there. So I don't know if he just excessively applied the brakes on entry, but that was a very weird way to have a spin around a bus stop chicane where you're not really required to use the brakes an awful lot. Got a pit stop in Pro-Am as Becky Ely-Clark has made her way into the pit lane, but with the enormous lead that she has got, she should be able to retain it.
Absolutely. Let's see what happens after the pit stop. And for Stephen Miller, by the way, who is down the field. That was a very brief yellow flag, by the way, that is now gone again. As the AM leader, by the way, I'm just realising why the tower's moved. The AM leader is now ahead of the Pro-Am leader, so that tower's going to look a bit strange for a while, but Becky Ely-Clark will be back at the head before long. Meanwhile, Elko Bussing is right in behind Alexander Schultz, and now Bussing, of course, coming back through the field after having that penalty a little bit earlier on. This is for 22nd overall, by the way, but 16th place in the biggest class, which is the Pro class. You'd imagine that Bussing is going to be able to make this work here in a few moments' time, because in theory, he's the quicker one and is the one out of position out of these 2.
It's coming up towards turn 1 now, and Schultz, who has had spins or offs through turn 1, gets the car slowed down this time in the Jaguar, and through turns. It's turn 2 as the Americans call it, but it's 2 turns, but they just named it turn 2 because it's just a section of the track. It's just rather weird if you ask me. Becky Ely-Clark is back out onto the circuit again because of her pit stop. Robin Moling is still in 2nd at the moment, but still hasn't stopped. In fact, most people haven't stopped yet. Only Micah Dern, Becky Ely-Clark and Wouter de Bruin have been in so far. Of those who are really contending at the very front, Ross Smith and Stephen Miller have been in the pit lane as well, but they're still outside of the top 20. Troy Ewan versus Tony is going on for 3rd place in the Pro-Am class at the moment as well. Becky Ely-Clark's lead after her stop is now 13 seconds, but that's because Merlin hasn't pitted. But I did say that she was expected to keep hold of the lead once her stop was done, because her lead was over 50 seconds before entering. And she seems to be on her way to the Pro-Am win, unless she makes any form of mistakes from here on in. Maya is still ahead of Gonçalves by nearly 10 seconds now. Nice lead that Maya's got. Angelidis is over half a minute off Gonçalves, so it looks like he may be consigned to be finishing in P3. But so the best battle we've got on track now is between these two, the Ewan brothers. I think they're both related, both Troy and John. Father and son. There we go. So there goes John through on Troy, and that was coming all lines on. So John is through at last. Anyway, there are only 5 left in the Pro-Am class. Ross Smith is back on the lead lap on the class leader, Becky Ely-Clark, that will be. And so Ross is just trying to get himself back into the fray for a battle with someone at least anyway, because he looks like around about 40 seconds off that, so he's just got to hope someone makes a mistake somewhere.
So 1 hour 15 still to go in this race. This is by far the most, well, it's one of the most congested parts of the order. I was going to say most, it's actually not, but it's one of. There's a big battle going on for 6th place overall at the moment between Mike Bell, JT Tammy and Scott Pope as well, so there's plenty to go out there as well. It's just so much traffic out there still on the circuit. Still 29 drivers in the race as Oliver Newman becomes a retirement. Not sure if we mentioned that yet, but Oliver Newman is indeed out of the race. DNF in the Pro-Am. We did indeed see the engine blow earlier, so that's a show of my memory of a goldfish. So there you go, he's out of the race as expected. Mike Bell pretty wide through turn 1 there in the Jaguar. That was a big slide. And JT Tammy now is going to be right up to the back of him here. 8th place just in behind them, of course, is Scar Pope, and then there's another car just coming into the fray now as well. Although they are not for position. Timon Subic is over a minute behind Scar Pope, so it's not going to be him, but it's another one of the pro drivers. I believe it is. Well, I'm not going to take a guess. I'd be plucking it out of completely thin air if I was to try and do that. So I'm not going to. Well, I might as well give it a go. Micah Dunn, I think it is, in 14th place. So he's just sat there watching for the moment as these 3 battle for 6th place. Out onto the banking again, and more fuel saving going on. These lap times still in the 45s for these drivers.
Yeah. Well, we've only had 5 drivers out of the race so far. So we're looking on the bottom right-hand screen, as well as the one that we've got primarily. There is Bell ahead of Tammy and Pope. Going through, Pope's got ahead of Tammy.
It is Micah Durham just in behind. By the way, he's looking in YouTube chat as people trying to justify Becky Ely-Clark's pit stop a few moments ago. It looks like she just wanted to come in for some new tyres just to be on the safe side rather than actually requiring tyres, although now that we're on halfway we are seeing some more stops from the leaders. Eduardo Beninca's in, so is Risto Corpi. The 2 leaders into the pit lane as Bell versus Pope goes on down it towards turn 1. Scott Pope has been really motoring in these last few moments, and as we hit halfway, Scott Pope up to 4th place. Meanwhile, further in behind, Corpi and Beninca make their pit stops, and over 30 seconds it is for Beninca. It's a change of tyres. Now he'll be making his way back out onto the circuit again. I don't see Corpi making a stop at all here in terms of tyres or whatever. He seems to be dropping a lot of time out of the pit lane already for Beninca. Here comes Corpi out onto the circuit as well. No pit limiter again as always, and so here he comes through the access road, if you like, on the left hand side. It's a very difficult pit exit to go through, but the crucial thing is that he lost time. There's the pan round to the yellow Eduardo Beninca, and through has gone Beninca. So this is a retention of the lead for Beninca, but it's a bigger lead, a much bigger lead than what he had before.
Yep, and Beninca pulling clear, effectively on course for the win for when other drivers like her lot can make their way into the pits.
48.8 in the box for Beninca, 52.2, sorry, for Corpi. So it is a 3-second margin. Now, earlier on, Tom, we saw Corpi in behind Beninka, and or because of, I should say, he put the pace on just for a couple of laps, set a 42.7, by far and away the fastest lap of the race, and then he sat back and fuel saved again. I wonder whether he might well invest a bit of fuel and invest a bit of tyre into catching Beninka back up again, and then using his slipstream a little bit later on.
He was able to catch up to Beninka at a rate of knots, wasn't he, on the first stint, so it wouldn't surprise me if he just gets onto the rear of him and almost make it like the longer pit stop was nothing to him. But now we've got Herlock in the lead for the time being. I wonder how far these can actually go, because if they can go further and further and further, they won't need to put in as much fuel when they come in for their stops, and that might help them just gain a little bit of ground and have a tyre advantage on Beninka and Corby later on.
We'll see whether they actually stop or not, or whether they're going to save their tyres all the way home here. These guys at the front. As Daniel Herlock leads the way ahead of Oliver Day. 2.4 seconds. Maybe that is why they were going a bit slow. Although Oliver Day's picked up the pace now. 44.5 from him last time round. That's a new personal best from the driver in second place, and he's now only 2 seconds behind the leader with 1 hour 10 to go. Gonçalves, meanwhile, comes in from second place in the AM class, Vinicius Gonçalves. So will Peter Meyer be making a pit stop as well? So interesting. It's so interesting that these drivers don't have to make pit stops. They can only take tyres, of course, but and lots of people suggesting, of course, that they'll need tyres. But the fact that there is the option there to go the whole way home is very encouraging, and encourages quite a lot of strategy games. As Stacey in YouTube chat says that Ollie might well be able to go, I presume she's talking about Oliver Day, might be able to go without a stop, so that could be very interesting and force the previous leaders to catch that margin on the circuit. Let's see what happens with regards to that, though, as we go back to George Andrelidis, who is off through the bus stop chicane. Quick trip through the grass and back on again.
Yep.
This is Gonçalves out the pit lane. Oh, outlap, and he is going to a spin. Well, that was a long-winded crash, but he goes for a spin. That could give Meyer a real advantage in the AM leading battle.
Well, it is going to give him an advantage, because that is a big spin from Gonçalves.
That might be a track cut we're hearing there. You get 4, by the way, track cut points here in this race. I don't want to get too much of a problem, because of course there is grass everywhere around the outside of the circuit these in 1985, whereas there is not 40 years on, as Corpy is indeed doing what I was suspecting he might do, putting the pace on to catch Beninka. Now he's a second behind. Don't expect to see that again, but 1 minute 41.4, that just shows how much they're holding themselves back.
Well, 1:44.3 was what Beninka posted. That is his best lap of the race so far for Beninka. So Corby is very much coming alive again. He's less than a second behind Beninka. So this goes back to what I was saying earlier, Ewan, is that he'll just treat that pit stop like he hadn't lost time at all. So he can just go at Beninka like clockwork now, and you can see in your picture a little twitch, but that's how hard he has pushed him.
Absolutely. This is fantastic stuff between these two. Now, they are going to have to focus as well on those out front. So 45.3 from Herlock, from Beninka. The lap time didn't register, so I guess he did a cut track or something. 41.4 though, we know that from Corpy. I suspect that Beninka was quicker than Herlock anyway. Day, Pope and Bell were all in the 45s as well. This is going to be the chase from here to the flag. 30 seconds. How much are they going to need to take out a lap? Maybe a second or so a lap from here on in to make it home. They're just over halfway. They're on lap 46 at the moment. I reckon they'll be doing over 80 laps here. So yeah, about a second a lap they're going to need to catch it. Although they may not get all the way home out front there. Scott Pope is into pit lane.
Well, we're going to see lap times from Beninka and Corby, and we're going to compare that. Yeah, we've got drivers in the pits. We've got Scott Pope who's in the pits. What's the lap times we saw there? Well, can't see Beninka's last lap time. I can say that Corby's lap time was a 1:42.6.
I think he must have cut the track again. I don't know where they're doing this. If the circuit's lined with grass, where can they get an advantage? I don't know. But anyway, they are clearly going at a speed. We can deduce from Corpy's lap time that Beninka's was probably something similar. 42.6. That was 2.5 seconds that time round. So they better hope they've got the fuel saved up to do this, because this is now well below the target lap time of a 1:44 that they need to make it home. However, it's worth bearing in mind that actually through the first part of the race they've basically been doing 1:45s, so they can give themselves that little bit of extra leeway in the second half of the race. Meanwhile, further down in the pack, we've had another DNF. Have we? Oh, yeah, we have Timon Subic from the top 10. Now, that's worrying. Maybe a disconnection we're hearing as Corpy now is making some hay. We're seeing some very fast lap times come in, by the way. Vinicius Gonçalves there, 45.7, as he tries to catch up to Peter Meyer, who I think is surely, well, he's broken something. He's not winning by 3 minutes, as that timing suggests.
Yeah, well,
it's coming down again now. It will normalise in a second, but anyway, he's trying to catch at the moment is Gonçalves after that pit stop. Here comes the battle for the lead, though, or what may become the battle for the lead a little bit later on, as Corpy just gets into the slipstream with Beninka and then just sits there. I wonder whether he is going to spend another hour or so sat behind Beninka, or whether he's going to try and go through and push on here. Over the line they go. We'll compare lap times again if Beninka's got one. There it is, new personal best from Beninka, 43.2, a 42.7 from Corpy that time round. These two are going quickly.
Yeah, well, I can say the DNF is involving Timon Subic. We don't know for certain what that might be. We're hearing it could be a connection thing involving him, but we'll hopefully find out with more detail what has been going on with him. Lalonde has also had a moment somewhere around the circuit, and quite a frightening one as well, because he caught the grass at such speed that it's gone into the wall.
Big crash. Big crash down at the West Horseshoe. That was heavy contact with the barriers, and he has had a pretty miserable day ever since taking the lead earlier on in the race. We're still waiting, by the way, for Peter Meyer to come in from the AM class, so it's a bit of a false order at the moment, and George Angelidis actually as well, now I think about it. Looks like Timon Subic's back in the server. I think our producer Paul was correct to say it was a disconnection, because he's returning now, which he wouldn't be able to do if it was a crash, for example. So we will hopefully see him back on this race circuit pretty soon. Here comes Corpy in towards the bus stop. No, not going to get anywhere this time. Still 27 seconds off the lead of Daniel Hurlock.
This is the battle for what could be for the race win later on, but we've got about an hour to go in this. You could just see getting out of shape, catching the grass as he tries to correct the car there. He's lost a bit of ground, but the quality of the slipstream is so effective. It's almost like you can afford to make a save and still stay in touch.
Having it confirmed, by the way, that he was disconnected from the server, unfortunately, Subic. Thank you to those in the YouTube chat for confirming that. As Corpy gets close again, not able to do it in towards turn number 1, 43.1 from both of the drivers last time round. So I suspect, given they were running in 45s most of the first part of the race, that was a bit slower than they really should have been going. They've left themselves a bit of leeway so that they can now do 43s, and it's amazing how just 2 seconds a lap all of a sudden just looks a lot quicker for these two. They look a lot more like they're, really pointing the race car where they want it. They're going a little bit quicker, they're diving deeper into these corners, and they're starting to lap people at a higher rate as well. Only 9 on the lead lap now, and that's even with Hurlock, who hasn't made a stop yet. These guys will have lapped even more if they stayed out on the circuit, of course. So this is getting interesting now, and a lot of lap traffic still to negotiate. Still 29 cars on the racetrack at the moment, even if there are only 9 on the lead lap.
Well, Beninka's posted his personal best lap of the race on the last lap, 1:43.1. Corby's lap time was identical pretty much, and you can see these two are closing in on the likes of Hurlock, Day and Bell. Hurlock setting a 1:44, Day setting a 1:45, and Bell a 1:46. So it's inevitable that they're going to catch up to those three. A new personal best lap time for Goncalves. Out of all those in the AM, that's the best lap out of all those in the AM class that Goncalves has been able to set, and he'll be able to go after Angelidis on the fresher tyres he will be on, because he came in for a pit stop not too long ago, I think. Goncalves, and now we're looking at Corpy right in the slipstream. Surely he must go for it, because he's got so much more pace in there.
Yeah, but he's just saving here, and well, who can blame him at this stage? Look at how close he's getting. He wants that slipstream. He is almost crashing into the back of the car in front, and now look at him lifting off. He must be saving so much fuel, even though he's going at quite a speed here. In the 43s again, those two, they're so well matched on speed, but someone's saying on YouTube he might be saving 0.1 or 0.2 litres per lap. I don't know if it's quite that much, if Beninka's so willing to let him have the slipstream, but maybe it's a bit of an error. Maybe this is all a bit of an error from Beninka, and maybe we're going to think later on in the race, why on earth was he giving the slipstream to Risto Corpy for half the race, or nearly the whole race, which is what he's been doing so far. Meanwhile, this is close between Mike Cadern and Ethan Funk for the last spot inside the top 10 overall. these drivers are the first one lap down, and Dern holds on. He's made this car look a bit like the Jota Porsche, to be honest. That remember him driving a little bit. I think he's driven the Porsche in the past in the modern series. Anyway, he's 10th place at the moment in this version, if you like, and about to. Are these guys about to be passed by the two in the bottom right, or have they just been? I can't quite tell for the moment, but we will find out pretty shortly. Plenty of battles going on around the circuit. There's more lap traffic. Look at this. Oh my goodness, Corpy follows Beninka as they lift off in towards the bus stop, and Corpy's going to get stuck behind some lap traffic.
Yeah, that's not ideal for Corpy. He's going to get stopped through the bus stop chicane, and Beninka can just head on and go after Dern, who's pulled away from Funk, who has been caught up in the traffic.
They're absolutely together here as they now make their way through. Corpy finally gets through, and will use a bit more of that fuel to catch back up to the back of Beninka. But that's his eternal weakness, isn't it, for Corpy? He's been trailing this entire race. As we hit an hour to go, by the way. He's been trailing the entire race, and so any traffic seems to benefit Beninka at the moment.
Seems to be, but Corpy won't be thankful to Funk, who got in the way at the bus stop. We've got the yellow flag in sector 1, but that's because I think there's more pit lane activity going on as we speak. Okay.
Oh, there's Jules Lalonde. Yeah.
On the exit of the horseshoe, the first horseshoe of the lap, but he's rejoined without any drama. But then you can see the class leaders. Herlock for Pro, but he hasn't pitted yet. Ely Clark has, and she's still in the lead, and Meyer, who just looking to see whether he has been in the pits so far in this. He has not. So Meyer staying out there for the time being. Will he be able to go to the end without needing to pit? Okay, so this is the closest battle we are seeing on circuit. Beninka and Corpy. Corpy right on the tail of Beninka again. They're coming up towards Dern, who was battling with Funk a lap ago before the two leaders, well, say the two leaders, the net leaders, if you want to put it in those words, in Pro, going through ahead of him there. So Dern allows them to go past. Corpy goes in too deep.
Oh, way too deep. Too deep on the brakes, and Risto Corpy has got that all wrong, I'm afraid, as the bus stop chicane. He's going to have to do some work again to try and bring the margin back here at the next lap. Goodness me, that was all over the place there for him. 21.5 seconds now the gap, by the way, between Beninka and Corpy. We're hearing there's been a big crash out on the racetrack somewhere. George Angelidis is down on pit lane at the moment. Not sure whether that is related or whether he's just making his scheduled pit stop. He's not involved, we're hearing, but there is a big crash just after these guys left the bus stop. Oh, someone's on the apron, and that's what happens. That's what happens when you get somebody on the apron down there, and you end up going for a big spin. And don't reverse back onto the circuit. Goodness me. Even Miller is in the yellow car, we believe, and it looks like Ross Smith in the pink, who has gone for the big spin. Well, that could have been a lot worse, and made worse by the fact that backing yourself back onto the racetrack again, which is never a great idea.
Looking at Corpy still at the moment, I was very lucky there that Ross Smith was able to keep going, and yeah, he's lost time in places because of it. It was a shame for him because he was doing so well, but now he's lost ground to the Ewan relatives, father and son they are, just to remind you. And Smith's got some work to do if he's to catch up with them before this race is over. But Corpy's still there with Beninka. This is the...
We're trying to get a cockpit view of Risto Corpy so that we can see his controller inputs, because as some of you in YouTube chat have noted, apparently he is a controller user, which is very impressive indeed. Through the bus stop chicane he goes. You know, now that they mention it, I can sort of tell through the banking bit. Look at the way that the car sort of janks around a bit. Watch it, this next camera shot here. He's actually been a bit smoother with it this time around, but anyway, here you go. Have a look at that. That is very unsmooth, I would describe it. Is that Corpy? Looks like he's got some sort of steering damage in the bottom right there. Heading towards, yeah, that's not Corpy. We'll get Corpy. Here he is. That's. I didn't know it'd be so dark. Sorry, can't see anything. Never mind. Someone get a torch out. Anyway, you'll see his inputs here just through the right-hander. There you go. Just full lock, and then there is a way of being smooth with it. You you can get away, or you can make it look very, very janky and very sudden movements. But actually, and I used to do this because I've raced on controller for a long time as well, there is a way to get yourself to be a little bit smoother as well if you're just very delicate with the inputs. But you do have to practice a lot at it, and it's very difficult.
I would agree. Just see, look at the way he controls the steering wheel. It's almost like he has to wait and then correct the slide, because you get the level of wheel spin as you apply the throttle on the exit there. I don't think these cars are fitted with traction control, so you have to really control the wheel spin. Well, I don't know if it actually exists back in those days, but if it doesn't, then it's no secret, because you can tell by the way the driver's having to do. Coming up to Mike Bell now are Beninka and Corby. Remember, Mike Bell hasn't stopped in this race. Beninka and Corby have done. So this is a chance, and he allows them through there. That was quite generous actually through the bus stop by Mike Bell's standards.
Did he allow them through, or did they just take it? I don't know, but they were certainly going to go through there no matter what. Voucher de Perun, meanwhile, versus Magnus Dahlgren in towards the bus stop chicane, goes on for 12th place, and that's Dahlgren holding on in the Jaguar there, trying to give you a flavour of some of the other battles that are going on out on the circuit at the moment. I know we're not giving too much airtime to the other classes at the moment, and I apologise for that. Leading in the AMS at the moment, this is Gilles Lalonde, who is just ahead of George Andelidis. Leading in the class, though, is still Peter Meyer, who hasn't made a stop yet. That's why he's leading by 3/4 of a minute over Vinicius Gonçalves, who has stopped. Last time round did a 47.2, which was 5 tenths quicker than Meyer. We'll see if that gap does close by the end of the day or not. It's certainly going the right way as far as Gonçalves is concerned, but then it would be, because he has made a stop. Becky Lee Clark is still leading in the Pro-Ams. She is 11th overall. Last time round 47.0, has stopped and didn't really need to, so she's both quicker and also ahead by over half a minute. As long as she keeps it on the road, it looks like she is the most sure of class victory. The others, I guess, have still really got to fight for this.
So as well, so we've got Lalonde and Angelidis, both have had spins so far in this race. This is the AM class we are looking at. We're right on board here. I think this is Lalonde. Yeah, this is Lalonde who's coming out of the hairpin before the banking. I would expect Angelidis to be within slipstream distance to try and attack him. It's not going to do it on the back stretch here. They'll probably do it on the front stretch after the bus stop.
There's the outside view. We're going to see on the onboard. Whoosh, past on the right hand side. There you go. Angelidis straight back onto the podium again, which is a great return for him on his fairly troubled afternoon. Well, Gilles Lalonde has had his fair share of trouble as well over the course of today's race. Out of the bus stop chicane, they go and on to the banking again here for George Angelidis, who gets up to 3rd place. Further back, off! Come on, the bus stop chicane there. Stephen Miller, it is. Scott Pope here, right ahead of Gutierrez, Johnny Gutierrez. These two are both stopped, by the way, and are fighting for a legitimate 7th place as they sort of dive through the wreckage.
So Stephen Miller's had another spin at the bus stop chicane. It looks like he's continued, but it's been a wretched race for him. He's already 4 laps down on the leader, so Miller will just want this race to be over sooner rather than later. Has been that sort of evening for him. Dan Herlock's lead is over 8 seconds on Oliver Day, with Beninka, as far as his last lap time is concerned, 1:44.6 to Herlock, who's 1:44.5. This very nearly losing it there. That car we just saw before the replay came up, but we'll have a look at the replay first.
We will look at these two battles. This is Stephen Miller we're about to have a look at here in the replay, and how he ended up off at the bus stop chicane. Down in towards the corner he goes and clips the inside curb, spins around to the inside, and it's a very difficult corner. Unfortunately, Miller's been having quite a difficult afternoon.
Yeah, it's been a difficult one. Well, it was a twitch coming out of the second horseshoe of the lap there for Beninka, so it wasn't as major as what it was with Miller. So Beninka very lucky to keep going as he is, but a lot of lost time to Herlock and Day. And Corpy's still holding back, actually. Surely Corpy must think that there's got to come a point where he might have to just go through on Beninka, because the losing grounds are Herlock and Day.
We're hearing in YouTube chat as well, someone pointing out to us that JT Tammy is going very quickly at the moment. Personal best from him last time round of a 42.9. He's about to cross the line again here. He's back in the 44s now. That's Becky Clark, who's in the mid 44s, fastest lap of her class so far this afternoon in the Pro-Am. So she's going very well indeed and continuing to extend that lead in the middle class. Baninka still out front ahead of Corpy, but this rate of closing is getting a bit concerning, I think. 20 seconds up to Herlock, who's still leading by some distance. Now that Jaguar, I think, can sustain the race on one set of tyres a bit better than the Lancia. So Oliver Day might be in a bit of trouble here, but are Baninka and Corpy going to start to regret their stop at some point and knowing that they're not quite closing quick enough? I don't think it's a concern just yet, but the gap's still quite large with quite a lot of this sprint now gone.
Well, Scarpo has had a spin, one of those who's still on the lead lap in 8th position. We'll replay. Is it at the bus stop chicane where he has done it at? We're going to have a look. No, it's at the last hairpin before they resume back onto the oval. So it's off the circuit. It wasn't as bad as we first thought.
Same corner. This is a lap later, by the way.
Yeah, carried too much speed.
Same problem. It's almost like watching two replays of the same thing, isn't it? Goodness me. That's almost an identical error from the same driver in the same corner. Very bizarre. Less than 50 minutes to go, meanwhile. Baninka and Corpy go over the line. 43.7, 43.8. Can't tell whether they were quicker than Herlock or not because his lap time was not valid. So we will wait for another lap to compare the two of them. But this is very, very interesting indeed. I'm very much enjoying this first round of the season. I've got to say, the only pit stop required is for tyres. No fuel needed to be taken on, but fuel saving certainly required. It's producing very interesting racing at the moment.
It's opened up especially. Well, we've seen is that Angelina's gone purple in his own class, so his personal best lap of the race. And that will help his cause to go after Gonçalves, although he's over or less than 40 seconds up the road. So I wonder if Angelis will run out of time to catch him. But it'll help him solidify his third place in the AM class. What I was going to say is about the strategy side, where some are doing the one stop, others aren't pitting at all. And I expect that to be a repeat feat wherever we go this season.
I hope so. It's been good so far. On the bottom right of your screen is Alexander Schultz, the driver we're riding on board with. Elko Bussing is just up in front. I suspect Bussing might well run away from us here on the bottom right, but we will watch and wait. He's in the light blue just up ahead. Baninka again caught by Corpy in the main part of your screen there. On the way out the bus stop, and now look at Corpy. Gets right behind him, bobbles around a bit because he's on a controller, but then just sort of sits behind him, coasting. Now, and we're hearing, by the way, from someone who was chatting to him live in a voice call that he's driving very slowly at the moment and is well within himself. Said he can be in the 40s if he's really pushing it, but we'll see whether that is true a little bit later. 43.0 for Baninka. It does make you wonder here with these two, still fuel saving a little bit, it looks like. How quickly are they going to go and when are they going to unleash this speed? Because it certainly looks like they've saved enough fuel to make it home. It's just a case of how quick they're going to make it home now, and at what stage they really just have to forget about the fuel saving entirely.
Well, they've still got time, but it's just when they start going like clockwork after Herlock and Day will probably be reluctant to get the hammer down on very old tyres.
Yellow flag has been out, I think, for Magnus Dahlgren at some point. He's in 14th place at the moment, behind Valtteri De Bruyn. The only driver, by the way, who's not a pro in the top 14 now is Becky Clark, as you can just see on the horizon the sun's starting to rise.
It's good news for the drivers, at least they'll get some more running in daylight before this race is over. Round about how long we've got to go in this race. I know we had like less than 50 minutes to go, but I just want to find the exact amount of time we have got left.
This is what happened towards turn number 1 for the 89 of Dahlgren. Rear brakes, spins himself around in towards the first corner. Pretty classic moment there.
Now, a long way off the turn 1 there for Dahlgren. And now he continues on his way. We've got 46 minutes to go. Thank you for answering that question for me. Beninka and Corby still there. They are getting the gap down, so we'll see what their lap times say on this. So I would say 1 minute 42s they'll be doing at this point. Low 1 minute 43s. We didn't get Day's lap time, probably because it wasn't a valid one, and her lap time was a 1:45.3.
That's a good gain then for Beninka and Corby that time round. 45 minutes to go then, and 45 minutes of light driving. I don't know what 45 minutes times 10 is in hours. About 8 hours, is it? The race in sim started about mid to late afternoon. This is the closest battle on the circuit, by the way, for third place between Beninka and Risto Corby, who is in the second of the two machines you can see at the moment. They're just making their way to the back of another lap car in the race, and I'm not sure who that is entirely, but they've made their way around the outside out of turn 6. John Ewan will be next, by the way, in the field for them to catch up to, so he goes to him pretty soon as well. There goes Corby, joshing right up to the back of the Lancia in towards the bus stop chicane, and then just sitting there and coasting all over it again. This is a race of waiting for now, but the moment in which the switch is going to turn is going to be quite something. And there you go, off the road for Corby. Even though he's not going at full speed on the straights, he's making mistakes, still managing to make mistakes through the bus stop.
Yep, but like, he did make that mistake, but it's very easy to make it up. So this is the order in the field. So we've got Dan Herlock still leading the way ahead of Oliver Day, with Eduardo Beninka and Risto Corby in the top 4. Then it's Mike Bell, JT Temi, Scarpo and Johnny Gutierrez in 8th place, followed by Adrian Rice and Michael Dern. Now Micah Dern running in 10th position overall. Then it's Becky, Ethan Funk and Vertifer Broyn, Magnus Dahlgren and Bradley Sellers, followed by Elko Busink and Alexander Schultz. Timon Suvic, who had that disconnection earlier, is still in the fray. It's Gabriel Mora in 18th position. That's the pro leaderboard for your information. This is the Pro-Am with Becky Ely Clark leading the way by pretty much a country mile, it has to be said. Robin Molin in 2nd place, and it's Troy Ewan and John Ewan in 3rd and 4th, with Ross Smith the last of the runners, with Oliver Newman, Luca Tavinari and Yuki Takanashi going no further. And finally in the AMs, we've got Peter Meyer ahead of Vinicius Gonçalves in the battle for the lead, although it looks like Meyer is on his way to victory. Most realistically, there's George Angelidis in 3rd place, followed by Gilles Lalonde, Jerry Chen, Adam Gray and Stephen Miller. The rest of those still going. Rain Hutchison, the only driver within AM, out of the race so far.
Thanks very much. That is where we are currently in the race. So to remind you, class leaders Herlock, Ely Clark and Meyer with 43 to go. Still plenty of racing left. The all-important gap, I guess, in this race is Beninka and Corby 14 seconds behind Herlock. Can Herlock hang on? I think it is looking less likely now. These two have been out on the new tyres for about half an hour now, and they've taken out just over half a minute out of the about half of the gap. So about 15 seconds out of Herlock, who's only going to be getting on older tyres towards the end anyway, although he is dipping into the 43s every now and again now. So that is going the right way as far as they're concerned. This is Cyril Salon on the outside of somebody in towards turn 1. Oh, and he tried to avoid the grass and go down the escape road. He's actually spun himself into the wall.
Got distracted by the fact that he was trying to get out of the way of other drivers and just missed his braking point.
Yeah. It's a bit bizarre. Oh, that was close. Corby there was sliced by somebody through in towards turn 4, and that's going to be some catching to do again here. He's going to have to get past that lap car and then back to Beninka. I thought he was catching John Ewan earlier, so it might be him, but maybe not. Don't know quite for the moment. It looks like it might be. Yeah, it looks like it's John Ewan in 22nd to me. So he will now get out the way and drop back as expected. So Oliver Day is only just over 4 seconds ahead of Beninka now, and there's a long way to go. So those guys who are on older tyres are all of a sudden going to be in a bit of trouble as far as being caught is concerned, as Beninka there slowed massively through the bus stop chicane. That's not going to help at all for him.
Yeah, he got held up. I just want to see who that is. That's Stephen Miller. He's been held up behind. So it was Stephen Miller, but he got held up behind. So it's similar fate to what happened with Corpy when he got held up behind one of the Ewans out of the second horseshoe. And now he is right in the wheel tracks of Beninka, but time and time again he just doesn't go for it, and he doesn't do so this time around.
On board in the bottom of your screen, look at the way that the car sort of wallows about because he's on the controller. It's absolutely remarkable. But Corpy is clearly comfortable with it. Clearly knows what he's doing, and he's right in behind. Beninka still here for what we believe will become the race lead. And I think going round the corner just up the road there was Oliver Day, who last time round was caught by 7/10 of a second, despite Beninka's clear obstruction through the final chicane, the bus stop chicane. Both sliding the rear tyres on the way out of the West Horseshoe, and there's another advantage they get. But actually, ability to chew these tyres up, these two will be able to do that a little bit more because they've been on them for half the time that the leaders have.
Getting into the closing stages of this, the fast of the race has been 1 minute 41 by Risto Corpy.
Meanwhile, hearing that Scar Focus in the pit lane, I haven't seen that myself actually. We will check on that, but that would be a top 10 driver coming into the pit lane once again. As these two on your screen here just find a little bit of free track actually. It won't last for too long because the battle between Elko Bussing, Alexander Schultz and Vinicius Gonçalves is going to be coming up pretty soon. That's Gonçalves, by the way, catching Schultz and Bussing on new tyres.
So we're going to see Corpy, assuming is just remaining behind Beninka.
Again, yeah, going quickest there, Gonçalves. So he is clearly going to be on the back of those guys pretty soon. Meanwhile, let's have a look at the replay for Miller, who has gone off into the bus again. Batched on the inside and spins. Meanwhile, in live pictures, you've seen it at the bottom of your screen. Beninka there coming to a dead stop out of turn number 1, and Mr. Corpy gets back underway, nearly 20 seconds off the lead. Suddenly, Herlock's got a lifeline, and he's sliding his way through the corner as well, Corpy. Beninka is, I think, going again, but he was stopped there, and he's now behind Bell, who is into 4th place. He's not stopped either, by the way, Mike Bell, so he'll surely be overtaken again, but this is going to be a very interesting replay to watch indeed. With just over half an hour to go in this race. Beninka versus Corpy into turn 1. Beninka on the inside. Oh no!
He got caught out by the black marker that's spot ahead of him.
I'm not sure which one that was, but he'll be furious with whoever it was there.
Yeah.
We'll see who it is. Gonçalves has lost a bit of time, so it could be him. And it looks like it might well be Gonçalves. That, I'm afraid, is a very bad rejoin from him, and he's really affected the overall makeup of this race.
Yeah, and Beninka will be absolutely livid. He'll take in damage from the contact as well. And JT Tammy will be closing on him thanks to it. So I may imagine there'll be a few words between Beninka and Gonçalves afterwards. Corpy, meanwhile, is gaining ground. Well, I say he's gaining ground. He'll have lost time because he's had to take evasive action of the collision ahead of him, and that'll give Day and Herlock a little bit of breathing space.
So finally, Corpy's not in the slipstream here at the moment, and he's leading the race on his own. So let's get to the bottom of quite what went on in towards turn number 1 here. This is on board with Beninka. You can see just how much he saw. You can see car going through the corner, and it's a pretty blind corner. There you see it now, and bang!
That's poor.
Gonçalves rejoins, and yeah, that is on him.
That is really poor from Gonçalves. He should have been more aware of that. The fact that the Beninka and Corpy were coming through. So the fact that he didn't even pay attention to that is shocking, quite frankly.
So shame to see. Shame to see a battle end like that. But look who it does give the opportunity to. Daniel Herlock is now leading by 12.5 seconds. We said that the Jaguar might well be lighter on its tyre than the Lancia, and they do have a better chance. This is what Corpy saw, by the way. This is the man now with the best chance of winning from here, of those who've stopped. Oh!
He was very lucky he didn't get caught up in that, otherwise there'd have been huge discussions afterwards.
Well, Corpy I think did scrape past them. I mean, literally, I don't mean he only just got past them, I mean he literally scraped them. And we'll see if he's got any damage as a result of that, but you wouldn't have thought so. This all of a sudden is a big chase now, though, just less than 20 seconds. He's going to have to use those tyres. If he's got any fuel saved up, he's going to have to use that as well.
Well, Tammy's closing in on Beninka. The gap is less than 3 seconds between the two. And it looks like Beninka is closing on Bell, so I think, like you said earlier, Ewan, he should be able to dispose of him very, very quickly. But there's Dahlgren going through on De Bruyne, and it's a very easy manoeuvre there. Well done there to Dahlgren, making up for lost time.
It was a very easy move from him, around on the outside. So into 12th place he goes. And into the bus stop as well. The driver behind them, by the way, is a lapped car, and so will not be getting involved in this one. Or indeed, they're not on the same lap. These two are a lap down, of course. Dahlgren and De Bruyne, they're not that far away from going 2 laps down. We've got drivers further down, at 5 down, for example, Stephen Miller. Some of these drivers have had very, very difficult afternoons indeed, as there's just 35 minutes remaining of it. Corpy is catching Oliver Day, who is starting to struggle a lot on those tyres. So I mentioned he is very good at retro racing, if you like. Oliver Day's got plenty of experience in it, but I'm afraid he can't bend the laws of physics, and at the moment the physics for those tyres are not feeling brilliant. Last time round he did a 44.5. That's still fuel saving pace, where Corpy's got into the 42s.
Not too long to go left in this race then. We have done about an hour and 50 minutes here in Daytona. We were kind of predicting it'd be something like 88 laps that they will be doing, but it could well be less than that given the pace we've seen from these sports cars of 1985. And Herlock's lead is now 15 seconds. Yeah, Day is really, really struggling because he did a lap of 144.5. Corpy just set his time inside of a sub 143 lap, let's say.
A lot of you discussing in YouTube chat just what a fight that might have spoiled, which is a shame, but we'll see what Eduardo Beninka can do from here to try and recover this now. He's on the back of Mike Bell, who also hasn't stopped here. He's one of only 3 drivers who haven't stopped inside the top 8, and Beninka's going to try and make light work of him here in towards turn number 1, and he's going to close in on the brakes. Beninka is quite late on the brakes from Bell, and he was always going around. I could see that coming. He broke too late for turn 1, spins to the outside of the corner, and Beninka's up to 4th. JT Tammy's into the top 5.
Yeah, and Bell just lost it as Beninka closing and pressurising all the time. The gap between Corpy and Beninka is less than 12 seconds, we're at 11 seconds now between those two, but Corpy's closing on Day at a rate of knots here. He's in fact he's less than a second behind him.
This is created new battles. This has Magnus Dahlgren versus Valtteri De Bruyne continues on for 12th. This is very busy, isn't it? Just me.
He wants to go to the battle for second place because Day and Corpy are virtually no still. Sorry to interrupt you, Ewan, but this is a battle we need to be watching now. There is Day and there is Corpy, nose to tail through the bus stop. No.
So out of the bus stop they go. Oliver Day not on a new set of tyres, of course. We mentioned earlier that the Lancia, probably of the cars available, not the best for going the whole day on one set. But Oliver Day clearly disagrees. He's going to go for it. Risto Corpy, though, is clearly on newer tyres, and he is going to benefit as a result. 42.2 from him last time round, the one before last. This time round, 43.0. He's not fuel saving as much anymore. He's utilising the saved fuel from earlier on.
Here is Corpy right on the. You just see how much he's late, so late on the brakes. Is what I was trying to say there from Corpy. How long is he willing to wait it out? Unless he. Yeah, you can just see Day just allowing through. Day was always going to struggle if he was trying to fight it out, because otherwise his tyres would have fallen away further and further and further. Yeah, he's really struggling now, is Oliver Day, as he lets Corpy go through.
And the bottom of your screen is Magnus Dahlgren behind Ethan Funk now in 12th position. So that is a change that has gone on a little bit further down. Valtteri De Bruyne's dropped quite a long way back on this last lap, so he's a couple of seconds further behind all of a sudden, but Dahlgren seems to be all at sea as well right now. in this very busy part of the order. We mentioned it earlier on. It's headed actually by Ross Smith, who's 23rd overall, and he's actually catching up to John Ewan, although the gap's 13 seconds at the moment. It might be one for later. Ross Smith is at the head of a real group that goes right the way down the field for about 10 of the drivers still in this race, right the way back to Timon Subic, who disconnected earlier on and is trying to recover from that. It is mostly lap traffic though, rather than battles. This is another battle though on the main part of your screen. Elko Bussink versus Alexander Schultz. One of these went for a spin earlier. It was Gonçalves, wasn't it, who was near these guys earlier. Then he went for a spin. Now he's 18 seconds behind them, but Bussink and Schultz have continued on for 15th overall. 15th in class and 19th overall.
Approaching the last half an hour of this race then. This VWSC season opener at Daytona. I mentioned about the calendar earlier. It's a long one that goes all the way to December, and so these drivers will just be preparing in the space of about 3 or 4, even 5 weeks before the next race. We've got a yellow in sector 1. We'll find out what exactly has been going on involved in that. That's probably down at turn 1 where someone has had a moment.
Like a couple of off actually. JT Tami and Johnny Gutierrez, we're thinking at the moment. Gutierrez certainly did a 47.0 lap time, which suggests he's been going slowly. But then again, maybe it was him. We'll have a look here at the replay towards turn number 1. It's pretty congested. This is the congested part I was talking about earlier. Too late on the brakes. Careful of the wall. Oh, that's a big smash. Big smash on the wall, I'm afraid there. And that's not only going to do damage for one lap, but that's going to do damage for multiple. There's the spin as well at turn number 1 for... that was reversal out the way. I mean, scary if there was somebody coming up the back of them, but thankfully there was nobody around to hit him. So we're pleased about that, and everyone can carry on. But thankfully no disaster, apart from the spin itself, no disaster for either of them on the rejoin that time round.
Well, hats off to him for not running into anyone that time. And now we're looking at Bussink, who has had a race to... I don't know if it's a race to forget or whether it's just been one of those for him, but he's running 19th overall. This is 15th in class for him. And we are seeing the back... This is Ethan Funke by the looks of it, and Dahlgren's gone through ahead of him into 11th place in class. That will be... So he's on his way there, is Dahlgren, making up for lost time. Out of the bus stop they come. Corpy's now got the gap down to less than 11 seconds. The gap between Day and Beninka is less than 10. We've got a replay that we're going to be seeing. And it looks like someone may well have had a moment here. Is this the same driver that was involved in that? Yeah, it's the long one.
Oh, hello. Oh, wow. That's quite spectacular. And he's still facing the right way. Well done. That was... Well, it could have been worse. We'll put it that way. That was quite spectacular over the bus stop chicane, but they've got away with it, and it's back on the circuit. Gilles Lalonde really has had a difficult afternoon. He's a lap down now in the AM class, behind Peter Meyer, who is still leading, by the way. I think that spin for Gonçalves is going to kill him in this race. He's quite a long way behind still now. And the new tyres are serving him well, of course, but he's just going to run out of time to get there, I think. Just over 10 seconds now between Musto Corpy and Daniel Hurlock. Is Corpy going to get there in terms of a defendable distance here for Hurlock? Because as soon as we get into the last 20 minutes especially, it's going to be, well, I don't say easy for him to hold on, but it is certainly going to be easier. There he is in the first corner, last time round, 44.3. Still being caught by Corpy, now 9 seconds the gap.
Looking at the gap there, you can see it's shrinking and shrinking all the time. Going back to what I was saying about the lap times, it's a whole second faster than what Hurlock had done. So at this rate, he's going to catch him in about 10 laps time, I would say, is Corpy. It's just when does he decide to go for it on Hurlock, or maybe whether Hurlock allows him to go through. I wouldn't have thought Hurlock would just allow him through at the late stage.
There's Becky Ely-Clark in the lead of the Pro-Am class. Personal best last time, 44.2. She can still go quicker than that. We've obviously saw her go quicker in qualifying, but she's never going to go that quick again, because this is the race after all. Cars are a lot heavier, older tyres, and they design the engines to go longer than one lap. So it's a very different story indeed. But back in the 45s this time around. Very good afternoon indeed for her. Over a minute ahead in the lead there, and Peter Meyer as well is over half a minute ahead in the lead of the AM class ahead of Gonçalves. So two good drives from the class leaders a bit further down. Peter Meyer looking more and more comfortable actually. Even at one stage he was being caught by Gonçalves quite quickly with 25 minutes to go. He's looking more secure in the race lead.
Yeah, he's looking very, very good. Just taking it very, very calmly through the bus up there. Very, very leisurely, Yasu. So I'll say very, very leisurely. Just took it easy because he knows he's got that big cushion over Gonçalves and Angelidis. So Meyer can afford to just take he could be about 2 seconds off the pace and still win in the class. So that's how comfortable a race he is having. Ely Clark over a minute clear. Even with that pit stop that she has had, she's dominated the proceedings, there's no question. As for Herlock, well, it's becoming more of a race of it now. You can just see how much time he has lost on the last lap. Over 2.5 seconds on Corby on that last tour alone.
That is significant time loss there for Daniel Herlock at the head of this race. We'll keep an eye on them when they get close. Dahlgren, Funk, De Bruyn covered by about 2.5 seconds at the moment as well, by the way, as they come into the bus stop chicane in the main part of your screen there. They're caught in a bit of traffic at the moment, and Dahlgren is going to be caught in behind this. Even Funk will just close in a little bit as he's in behind a couple of drivers. Here is Dahlgren. One of them is Ross Smith in the Porsche, who is closing on John Ewan, by the way, as I talked about earlier on. That is still happening, and we will have a look at that battle as well when it transpires, because I reckon that one is on its way as well. Smith is not being overtaken for a position there. Oh no, he is, excuse me. George Angelidis is passing him for a position. They're not in the same class, but they are fighting for an overall place there, Angelidis and Smith. And Smith breaks late enough to hang on through turn one. I think Angelidis has had a fair amount of trauma there through turn one, and so didn't want to risk it on the outside, braking too late, and so he just backs out of it, and he stays in third in his class, obviously, but stays in 24th overall.
There's been a moment from someone in sets one, hence why those.
There's the move, by the way, from Dahlgren down the inside. So we're hearing it is Gonçalves who's been off in the battle in the AM lead. So maybe Angelidis does have a shout of a second place here. He's only 10 seconds behind. Maybe this is on for George Angelidis. We'll wait and see on that one as we have a look at the replay of what happened to Gonçalves. Wide through turn four. Thankfully, he was sliding early enough for him to lock it on the brakes and stop the car, but that's a spin that costs you a lot of time.
Yeah, how does he rejoin those? Does he go back the correct way? Because I know you can get shortcut penalties or whatever on this mod or whatever. So I'm sure he'll come back on safely. But now we're looking at the battle for third place in the AM class here, or what we thought we'd be seeing a third place battle, because Angelidis
dropped back a little bit now from Smith, and so might not be a battle that transpires. Yeah, was it Gonçalves who did that earlier, or did somebody else do it when they spun to the inside there of the West Horseshoe and just sort of drove across the corner? No, it's very difficult to justify the fact that they've cut the circuit because they haven't gained any time, but it may still register as a cut track, as there's some real lifting off there from Roger De Bruyn, by the way, in towards turn one. We're also at that stage in the race where people start to look up at the clock again, then they look down at their fuel gauge and think, oh dear, I don't think I've got enough for these 22.5 minutes.
Into the last 23 minutes then. Herlock's lead has come down to 6 seconds. I can tell you, Corby took 1.1 seconds out of his margin on the last lap. So we're on lap 71 here. 5 seconds just over is the margin. So we're just looking at a battle here. This is the battle for 12th place in class.
This is Roger De Bruyn we're on board with in the bottom right. See that boost away there from Funk out of the corner. Pick up ahead of them as well here, by the way, as the leading gap. I'll just remind you, we won't look at it just for the moment because it is still 5 seconds between Daniel Herlock and Risto. It is closing. So, battle for 12th place in the pro class in Funk versus De Bruyn in towards the bus stop chicane. Now, is it further up ahead here that they've got the yellow, or is it somewhere else? We will find out and show you a replay when we can, as Dahlgren As Angelidis behind him going off the road there through the bus stop ever so briefly. Let's see what happened on the replay. It was indeed at the bus stop, but they got it cleared out before. We did see, and it is Becky Ely-Clark, is it, who's gone for a spin? And he saved it just about. That's the Pro-Am leader saving the car from getting into the wall. So a good save there from Becky Ely-Clark, who is still leading. And in live pictures you may have seen, just in behind Funk, we saw De Bruyne getting into the wall, I'm hearing. So that, or into somebody else. So that is a 2-second gap all of a sudden to Valtteri De Bruyne, who is now a couple of seconds adrift, and the yellow flag comes out again at sector number 1. That is a battle that's going to be spoiled now. Funk is going to run away with 12th.
We're going to see a replay of what's been going on, because it feels like it's been one incident after another involving the same driver or drivers. This is De Bruyne, who has had a clout with someone here. If someone's already spun ahead of him, don't tell me that's the same driver that collided with Beninka earlier.
I think it's George Angelidis. I'm pretty sure. We will have a second look, but if it is, then I don't think it was the same driver that made contact with Beninka, but I could be wrong. They look very similar. George Angelidis looks like it is indeed the one. We'll get it confirmed with this camera shot here and this replay right here, as he made the mistake out of the bus stop chicane. It was right in behind Dahlgren and Smith. And there's his slide. He just bounced off the wall. Oh, he releases the brakes there just a moment too early. And De Bruyne hits him. And, well, they might well have damage now. He's in a precarious place, isn't he? Where do you go from here? He's going to reverse off the road and rejoin down the bottom there, which is probably the best thing to do. So, well done, George, on that one. But he's lost an awful lot of time there in that spin and that bit of contact.
It's a total shame there for De Bruyne. It keeps going, and Gonçalves... Angelidis, has lost time because of it, and has lost ground to Gonçalves in the fight for second place in AM. The gap going down to 3.1 seconds between Herlock and Corpy. This is going to be a replay. This is at turn 1 of that incident involving De Bruyne and Angelidis, and this is De Bruyne going.
Wow.
Well, he's lost it on the brakes. He's lost it on the brakes, and onto the grass he goes. And yeah, it's just been that sort of race for him. Reversing.
Hello.
Does he rejoin safely? I think he does, thankfully. Luckily for him, there wasn't any other cars coming through, so he had all the time in the world to get the car pointing around the right way and get going again.
He certainly did. It's a good job there was not anybody around. Looks like it's just clouding over at the moment again here as we get to the mid-afternoon stage of this race. Again, I don't know what time in sim this started. We will wait and see on that. But Ross Smith has now caught John Nguyen in the 111 car. Somebody mentioning, by the way, on YouTube that there's been a lot of attrition in the Pro-Ams. Well, there are 3 Pro-Ams retired, which is more than any other class. That's true. However, we did also start with the least Pro-Ams of anybody, or the least of that class of anybody tied with the AM. So it looks like they've had a lot more attrition than they have. There are still 5 running, but only 3 retired. There on your screen was Ross Smith going straight past John Ewan. That did not look like really much of an argument.
No, and Ross Smith getting through at last on John Ewan into 4th place in the Pro-Am. And we've got a couple of more drivers on the road behind of him. Is that Ethan Funk who is holding back someone else there? I just want to see who that is behind them. I think they're laps ahead of him.
One of them's Funk. Somebody else got a different lap as well coming through here at the moment. As they make their way in towards turn number 1. Steady on, everybody. Breathe in. They'll get on the brakes nicely and make their way through on this occasion with no further problems. Just over 3 seconds the gap now between Herlock and Corpy, who was stuck in the high 43s that time round. That wasn't particularly any good for him. There's another look up the inside there from another one of the lapped cars. I'm not sure who that is at the moment, but they're trying to work their way past the leaders. Or past the guys a couple of laps down on them. Ethan Funk in the 7 car. There's the gap 1.9 now, 1.7, 1.5. Look at the tower go there. For Risto Corpy in towards turn 1. Herlock may well have been lifting off, or was he in traffic on the way in towards turn 1? He was lifting off. Last time round, 44.3 from him. Risto Corpy, 42.9. He is closing here.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of time before Corby gets through on Herlock here. Could even do it on this lap. If Corby just lets him go here, he knows he's got virtually second place in the bag, provided he doesn't make any more mistakes from here. So I think he has to play the long game here, because there's no way.
Meanwhile, further behind, Oliver Day is really starting to dive off the edge of a cliff here. 44.9 from him last time round. Eduardo Beninca is just under 5 seconds behind, and that could be a battle for a podium, and that would be a great reward for Beninca on his efforts for the day.
It will be. And Beninca, I think, will get through on day. It's just a matter of whether he can close in on Herlock once Corby gets by. It's a matter of time before Corby gets by Dan at some stage.
It's going to be a battle for the lead here, though. 15 minutes to go. You know, this is a defendable distance for Herlock. You know, it's absolutely possible that he gets in front here and just puts his car in the way at every possible opportunity. You know, if there was an hour and 15 to go, I would say, yeah, this is not really defendable. You know, that's too much time. But it's only 15 minutes to go here.
Indeed, and he'll be coming up to a back marker, which will make the most of the slipstream. Or does he want the slipstream? Because if he's been saving fuel all this time, does he want to be stuck behind there? Well, he won't be stuck behind for too much longer because he knows it's quicker than him, so he needs to go through now here, and he can create himself a buffer. He does go through. He just needs to make sure he gets on the brakes as sweetly as possible. And now Corby will be the next to just go through on that back marker through turn 2. And this is the horseshoe that they come through.
There's the onboard from Herlock. We would look behind at Corby, but it's being blocked by the rather large rear spoiler. There you go. These cars do look fantastic though, don't they? Modded into the sim. It's replicated, for those who are just joining us, replicating the 1985 Sportscar Championship season, which I guess is what modern day WC is called. On board further down in the bottom of your picture, we get a bit of a better view out of the front end of this machine in towards the bus stop chicane. No curves around this circuit, of course, in the 1985 season. Like you see in the modern day Daytona, it is just grass lining this circuit. There's very little grass around Daytona anymore. This is Corby, who we are riding on board with. Then into the bus stop chicane we go, and sliding his way through. He's so often sliding, isn't he? For someone who's on a controller, he does manage the slide rather well.
You have to say so, don't you? I don't know how many times you run wide on the grass there and able to keep hold of it.
There's another battle developing further down, by the way. Ewan Funk is catching Magnus Dahlgren, who did a 46.2 last time round. That was a very slow lap time from Dahlgren, the slowest in the top 17 from him. And so Ewan Funk is catching with his personal best last time round.
So going through turn 1, the gap between Herlock in the lead and Corby in second has gone back up to 2.5 seconds. I just wonder if Corby may have taken a little bit too much out of the tyres too soon, whilst Herlock has been able to manage his own situation.
These tyres have been through quite a battering now for Dan Herlock, that is for sure. Just keeping them underneath him here for these last 12 minutes is going to be as much of a challenge as anything else. Beninca, by the way, has been caught by JT Tammy. I know a few people in YouTube chat have been mentioning that over the last couple of moments here as this race has been winding down. We've been trying to have about 50 pairs of eyes to have a look at all the battles that are going on late on now. But this is for first place in the main part of your screen. And down the bottom there is JT Tammy on a charge. 42.6 from him last time round. The fastest lap of anybody.
Yep, out of all of anyone on the last tour. And Tammy closing on Beninca as they are closing in now on the amount of laps we've got left. Well, time really, we've got 12 minutes. And so how far is Tammy? We want to get an onboard view of Tammy to see how far he is behind Beninca. He surely cannot be that far away. And yeah, if he's going to overtake Beninca, he'll want to do it as soon as possible so they can go after Oliver Day.
You can see it, 0.6, 0.5, 0.4, he's closing in on the straight there. There it is in the yellow. Beninca just heads the group through. Or he's in the middle of the group, rather. That's a lot of traffic there for Oliver Day. That's not what he needed at all. Oliver Day is going to be under severe pressure here as is Herlock. This is going to be a headache for us to try and watch at the same time, isn't it? Goodness me. JT Tarry then in the slipstream. He's coming quickly now. He is using up the fuel late on now. He's really burning it up. Here we go. Double slipstream, triple slipstream as they all pull to the left-hand side here. Through come the leaders. Tammy trying to get past Paninka. Can't quite do it on the way down towards turn number 1. But he's starting to apply that pressure. And then the lap car getting in the middle of them here. Tammy's going to be just held back from getting to Paninka for the next corner or so.
And you do it through turn 2 here. It gets held up there. Does Tammy? He will not be happy with that. And Paninka, well, he's closing on Day all the time. So we've got a three-way fight for the last podium position. Corpy has got the gap down to 8 tenths, now 7 tenths on Dan Herlock as they make their way out of the road section of the course before they get towards the backstretch.
Through the West Horseshoe. Sun's coming out here late on, by the way, as we end in the middle of the day. We've been through a full 24-hour night-day cycle. The first minutes of the race, to be fair, we're very few minutes at the front of the race here. We're in the light, by the way. We had a long period of darkness, and now the last 40 minutes or so, we've been in the daytime again here at Daytona. The opening round of the Virtual World Sportscar Championship, historic version from 1985. It's the 2.4 hours of Daytona. There is Risto Corpy, right in behind Dan Herlock here on the way down towards turn number 1. So many battles to watch, including this one for the lead, and the one for third place, and there's one for the top 10 as well going on right now. There's so much to watch. On the way down towards turn 1 though for Risto Corpy. Can he maybe work a way through down the hill? Doesn't quite look like it. He's too far back this time round as they make their way down. We take less than 10 minutes to go. Corpy under time pressure here. Herlock under physical pressure from his adversary just in behind him. Here goes JT Tammy meanwhile in the background. Paninka pulls over the side of the road, and there he goes. JT Tammy's going to be in 4th place.
Yeah, great move. And Paninka just allowed him to go by because he knows he's going to be catching into Oliver Day anyway. And they've got more back markers to negotiate. And Paninka can just see an open door that Tammy's left open. And Paninka is surely going to find a way through, but Tammy is able to hold him off.
Wow. Lap traffic playing a big role there. A lot of understeering towards the International Horseshoe as well for whoever this is just up in front here. It is Oliver Day, of course, who's on those old tyres, and there, just up ahead, there's the slow lap car, who's just going to get in the way of these guys. He's going to let this battle for third place go through at least. Oliver Day might have to defend again here, and he does. He's parking on the inside line. Can he hold on to this podium with 9 minutes to go?
He looks like he's struggling there. You can just see as he's applying the throttle, a lot of wheel spin. Tammy will have so much more confidence and so much more grip. But it's about knowing when is the best place to pass in the game. Day, contact between Day and Tammy, and you can just see how aggressive he has to be. Yeah, he's off the track, and yeah, that's a fight that is.
That is a very, very close one for Oliver Day, who just about holds on to the car. So JT Tammy goes through, and Eduardo Paninka goes through as well. This is the battle for third place, and it's going to be between Tammy and Paninka now, surely, as Oliver Day makes a mistake. He does have 13 seconds back to Scar Pope, but even that top 5 might not be secure. Here welcomes Corpy. Paninka makes a mistake in the main part of the picture. Corpy's coming for the lead, though, over the line. We're just under 8 minutes to go. Is he going to go for it this time round? Here, look. Stout in his defence. He holds the inside line. Corpy not able to go through this time round.
Well, that was the closest that Corpy's come around, but Paninka's mistake has cost him dear yet again, and Day goes back into 4th position. That'll give Scar Pope in 6th position some hope of catching those two in the closing minutes. But this is the battle that we are focusing on now. This is all coming down between Herlock, who hasn't pitted, and Corpy, who has pitted, and we've got a yellow flag in sector 2. We don't know what that has involved. And Lalonde has yet another spin, hence why he's dropped back. And we'll get.
We will see if we can have a look at replays at some point, but we don't want to pull ourselves away from the battle for the lead at the moment. Fantastic stuff between Herlock and Corpy. They're a long way ahead of the rest here. Tammy is 17 seconds behind. We'll have a chance for a quick replay here in the going down the order. This is Scar Pope, who's chasing for a top 5, by the way. If Oliver Day is struggling, but there is not going to be the way that you catch 5th place. That was a too late moment on the brakes and a slide in towards turn 1. This is Ethan Funk, who's braked way too late there. You can see that coming. Into the grass he goes. and off the circuit at turn number 1. Look at the bottom right of your screen. Continuing on, this is what happened to Benenka. He got the first part wrong, then slipped through the second. Oh, he was clipped. He was clipped in the end. That was coming. Benenka drops to 5th again, and he's 5 seconds, by the way, in live pictures. He's 5 seconds off. That is Lalonde at the bus stop chicane, who is off the road. So, lots of replays all in one there, and meanwhile the leaders have not you've not missed anything. The leaders are still single file. They're lifting off a lot again in towards turn 1. I've got to say they're solidly in the 44s all over again here as they realise how many laps to go. Probably 4 laps remaining now in the race.
Yeah, I would say so, and the laps are coming down now. We're on lap 81 and we expect it to be an 84 lap race, but never mind the laps. We're focusing on the battle between Herlock and Corby as they fight for the first race win of the season. Becky Ely-Clark's win in Pro-Am was a foregone conclusion, to be honest with you, as is Peter Meyer in the Am. So this is the battle we are staying until the end, subject to any more battles. When Beninka's gap to Scar Pope is coming down to less than 2 seconds, so that battle might grow in the remaining laps of this. We're going to see a replay of an incident, and this is De Bruyne. It's De Bruyne who's had a spin at the bus stop, and it's not the first time we see him do that today. At least he's kept going. And this is Gray who's had a spin also. The last hairpin before, or is that Beninka? He's collided. I think it's Beninka that he's collided there.
Oh, and another collision there as well. Out of turn number 6. We'll double check who there was contact with. We haven't seen very much of Adam Gray today, actually. Down in 28th place in the AM class. He's had quite a quiet day. So let's just put this in context for you one last time with 5 minutes still to go. Daniel Herlock is leading this race. He hasn't taken tyres yet, and he won't, because you don't need to in this series. It's about saving enough fuel to get home, and at the moment it looks like Herlock has saved enough tyres and indeed saved enough fuel to make it home. I'm a bit concerned about Risto Corpi's fuel now all of a sudden, because he's dropped 3 seconds off the lead, but he's on newer tyres here, so he's been catching and utilising those to catch Herlock all day long, who goes for a big slide in towards turn number 1, and he saves it. But this is getting concerning, I think, for Risto Corpi, who last time round did a 46.9. Is he starting to struggle for fuel here? Let's just have a look at him here. Is he just pootling around, waiting to try and make it home? But we're seeing some real big gaps open up late on here through lots of tyre wear for some, like Oliver Day, who's seen his gap balloon. And I think fuel concerns for Risto Corpi. We'll have a look at his inputs in a few moments' time. As Scott Pope is smoking, is this car smoking, or am I going mad?
No, he's catching Beninka. He's catching Beninka at a rate of knots. He's going after Beninka for 5th place. Is Scott Pope. So we've got Bradley Phillips has also been off the circuit as well. Bradley Sellers has gone off the circuit. My apologies for the name there, but he has gone off the circuit somewhere and he has continued on his way. Scar Pope, meanwhile, wants to get the job done. I think this is going to be an easy overtake here because Beninka has struggled. He's struggled with damage, he's struggled with tyre wear. In fact, yeah, it looks like he's slowing because of fuel there, does Beninka. And we want to have a look at Corpi. I think Corpi may well be struggling with fuel because he's now 7 seconds off the lead. I think it's pretty obvious that Corpi is struggling with fuel here.
Let's see. This is going to be interesting. JT Tammy might well be able to get onto the back here. Tammy looks like he's really well timed this, and with 3 minutes to go, he might have a chance. 2 laps to go. The gap balloons to 10 seconds. Corpi, we'll have a look at his inputs in a few moments' time. Corpi is losing so much time. He's got to try and make it 2 more laps home here before the end, and this is getting a real concern for him at the moment. There is damage to think about here. Don't forget for Beninka, who's dropped to 6th place, and Corpi maybe as well in the 2nd place. He's been in the walls a little bit in these last few moments. In towards turn 1. Using 3rd gear initially for the traction, then down into 2nd here for Corpi. Now watch this into the International Horseshoe. He's not on the power at all from the end of the S's right the way to braking for the International Horseshoe. He's really struggling on fuel, and I don't see how he can keep JT Tammy behind him.
No, Tammy's going to get him. He might even get him before the West Horseshoe that they're going through now. So Tammy should be able to go alongside here, yeah. So yeah, that's a foregone conclusion. There he goes up the inside. How much does Corby fight this though? I imagine 0. He's off the track. Yeah, so Corby off the track, and his chances of victory are gone.
They have absolutely gone. Bradley Sellers, meanwhile, has been off on the last lap. He's 16th overall and 14th in class. There he is. This is Gonçalves is into pit lane, by the way. George Angelidis is now second in the AM class because Gonçalves is into pit lane. I wonder what's happened to him in these last few moments. I'm not quite sure, but he drops to third place in the meantime. Maybe Gilles Lalonde is going to get a podium. He is. He's going to come through here in a couple of moments' time, and he's going to take a podium. What a fantastic return for him after such trouble today. This is, oh dear, Becky Ely-Clark off the road down at turn number 1. She's still got a very big lead, so she'll be okay, but it's not the moment that she would have wanted through there. As the gap comes down, less than 12 seconds. Has Daniel Hurlock got the fuel and the tyres to make it home? If he has, then he's going to win this race. Is Corpy even going to finish on the podium as the gap goes below 10 seconds? Hurlock is onto his final lap of the race.
Yeah, I just wonder whether Corby's going to make it to the end here, as is Dan Hurlock. I mean, Dan Hurlock should be fine from here, but this is Corby, who's had a spin.
Wow.
Not often we see this from him throughout
Nice
the race.
save.
Yeah.
Oh, well done. What a great save.
I know Finnish drivers are known for their rally-style driving, but that was pretty unique, as we said from Corby, on low fuel.
Very impressively done. But anyway, here's Daniel Hurlock. He's not really lifting off. He's just losing a lot of time through the corners. Corpy's going to be caught by day here. We could have 2 drivers on the podium, but haven't stopped. Oh, he's pulling over! Risto Corpy's pulling over! He was odds-on favourite to win this race at stages this afternoon, but he's pulled over with less than a lap to go, and Risto Corpy's miscalculated here. He thought the race was going 1 lap shorter. I'm afraid he's been proven wrong, and suddenly he's out of this race. Oh my goodness, and Oliver Day could be on the podium here. Scott Pope might well get a surprise podium though. It's going to be on here at the very end of this race in a few moments' time. Further up the road, of course, Daniel Hurlock is making his way into the final corners of this race to come through for a famous victory. He's being chased all the way home by JT Tammy, who's gained a second and a half on him in this last lap. But all of a sudden, this race is turning on its head. Here comes Scott Pope for a podium, maybe. Tay hasn't got the tyres into the bus stop chicane. He just brakes late enough. And look at that, he's just floating himself through the corners. He can barely turn. As further up front, Daniel Hurlock has taken the checkered flag, and he's taken the race victory here at Daytona. The 2.4 hours of Daytona goes to him as Oliver Day's up high here. Scott Pope comes through on the inside line. It's going to be a podium for the M. Aston Martin as Miller's slow on the banking. Here comes Pope through to a podium. Oliver Day looks like he's out of gas as well on the way to the line. He's coasting his way home. It's going to be 4th place for him. Paninka's just going to miss out on the 4th place at the end. As further down the field, Becky Ely-Clark looks like she's going to take victory here in the Pro-Ams. As further down as well, Peter Meyer is coming through the final banking as well. Just further up the road, actually, it's going to be a big win for Ely by nearly a minute and a half. In the end, the driver will, Merling's actually drive back to the pit lane, so he's out of things now. He's actually going to be credited with 1 lap less than Becky Ely-Clark, in case you're interested. But anyway, Ely-Clark goes over the line and wins the race in Pro-Am. A pretty dominant victory in the end, and a pretty big crash at the end as well.
Yeah. Well, luckily that was after the line there. So well done to Becky Ely-Clark winning out in the Pro-Am, and well done to Peter Meyer taking the honours in the Am. What a victory for Dan Hurlock, completing what looked impossible on old tyres all the way to the end. We didn't expect Corby to run out of fuel right at the end.
No. He definitely thought that race was going 1 lap shorter, didn't he? I mean, he fueled it perfectly for a race in which we went only 83 laps, but we went 84, and that's the risk you take in one of these races. There we go. Anyway, that is 2.4 hours here at Daytona. Let's have a look at the result. Daniel Hurlock wins in the overall race ahead of JT Tammy. Scott Pope, who overtook Oliver Day on the last lap to finish in the podium places. Eduardo Banica rounds out the top 5 after leading the most laps this afternoon. Mike Bell finishes 6th, but Aristo Corpi, who we think is going to be credited with 7th place. Adrian Rice and Micah Dern finished 8th and 9th, and Johnny Gutierrez, who rounds out the top 10 in the pro standings. 11th was Ethan Funk, who was a lap ahead of Magnus Dahlgren, who battled with Roger de Bruyn late on. Bradley Sellers finished 14th, but of Elko Bussink and Alexander Schultz, who were quite close late on as well. Timo Subic recovered from that disconnection to finish 17th, but of Gabriel Mora, who was the second driver, or the first driver, I should say, to retire from today's race. In the Pro-Ams, Becky Edie Clark wins by what will be a lap in the end, but it was actually about 90 seconds ahead of Robin Merling. Troy Ewan finishes on the podium, just ahead of Ross Smith, who was chasing back through at the end there. John Ewan was passed by Smith quite late on. Oliver Newman, Luca Tavanari DNF'd, and Yuka Takahashi got disqualified, we believe, maybe for not serving his penalty quite quickly enough, although we can't say that for sure. In the AM standings, Peter Meyer wins ahead of George Andalidis, who passed Gonsalves quite late on. Gilles Lalonde got on the podium as a result of that as well, and Jerry Chen got 4th place because Gonsalves dropped to 5th. Adam Gray had a quite a quiet race, I should say, finishing in 6th place ahead of Stephen Miller, who ran out of fuel to the line. Wayne Hutchison, whose car was pretty destroyed from pretty early on. Well, let's have a bit of a chat to some of these drivers then, shall we? Starting with Becky Ely Clark, who can join us first of all. Welcome in, Becky. Good to have you with us for the first round of the season, and congratulations on winning in the Pro-Am. But I want to go back to qualifying first of all. You told me that the race pace was going to be very, very different, and it did turn out to be, but you got an overall pole position. Were you slightly surprised by that?
I was a little surprised this morning when I had a go at qualifying to find out that I was that fast, but the car, while it has no race pace, the quali engine is absolutely fine on it. We have zero disadvantage there at all, and I practiced my arse off, so I didn't think I'd get it, but I thought I'd be close.
Yeah,
I'm
and to get
very happy with that.
Sorry. To get the Pro-Am win there at the end there as well. I mean, it was a big gap. Just how was the race for you generally?
It was awful, actually. I did a really bad race. Like, as I say, I'd practiced so much. I'd done a practice race, and then right at the beginning, Risto came crashing into the back of me, damaging my car, trying to go through me like I wasn't there when I was lifting. And that was that. I then spun myself and damaged the car even more and was nursing it round, and as you probably saw, making lots of mistakes because of it.
Well, I
So I
suspect you
was
weren't the
really
only one out there with
surprised.
damage, considering what we saw.
No.
Just what did you think of the traffic management and the general racing with 34 out there? It actually did look quite busy from what we were watching.
I thought everyone did well. I mean, I would like to apologise to Mike Bell. Me and Mike O'Dowan kind of took the mick a bit at the end when we were a lap down. We were just like, we don't really like following people. The downforce goes away too much. So we're going to try and unlap ourselves on you, Mike, which wasn't a cool thing to do. But I think Mike's hopefully okay with it. But apologies anyway, Mike.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for coming to have a chat with us. Is there anyone you'd like to give it to before we let you go?
I would like to give a big shout out to my husband, who is always supporting me and looking after me. And quite often I wouldn't even be able to do the races without him, because I struggle a bit with my health sometimes, and he will look after me for the day and make sure that I can rest up and actually do the race. So a big, big thank you to him for actually allowing me to race, and not allowing me to race, but making it easier for me to race. And I'd like to give a
Excellent.
big shout out to Ben Borman, who did incredible setup work. The only reason any of us were as fast as we were because of his absolutely outstanding work. It's probably one of the best setups, like top 2 best setups I've ever driven in my life. And that was his work. And then just the rest of the lobsters. We were all practicing together, sharing tips. We were shaving hundredths off. If someone learned something that shaved a hundredth off, they shared it, and we all benefited. And that was a great crew. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the year with my lobster crew.
Excellent. We're looking forward to the rest of the year in the Historics as well. Congratulations on the Pro-Am win, Becky. We'll see you in this series in 4 weeks' time.
Thank you very much. Can I just give a big shout out to SGS as well? The cars like George, Ross, John, Matt, Jerry. Have I missed one? John. Have done an amazing, amazing job. I don't know how they outdo themselves year on year, but they do, and they've outdone themselves again with these year's cars, and it's just incredible. They are a joy to drive, and I'm so grateful for all the hard work that they put in, the hours staying up till 3, 5 in the morning working on it. I'm incredibly grateful for them for doing that.
Excellent. Thanks for coming to have a chat with us, and we'll see you soon in another race, I'm sure. Becky Ely-Clark, the winner in Pro-Am here tonight in the 2.4 hours of Daytona. Let's have a look at some of the other class winners, including the overall winner, of course, Daniel Hurlock, who can now join us as well. Congratulations, Daniel. What a great race. What a great finish there to the overall race. But you've come out on top. Just tell us about your strategy, why you went for it, and how you feel now that it's the one that's the winning strategy.
Well, it's kind of forced into it because I sort of lost the first half of the race when they all pitted for tyres. I was maybe 10 seconds back, something like that. So I just thought I'd gamble it, see if it would pay off. I thought at the start with Bristow and Benica pulling away so much, I was wondering if they would be all right on fuel. And ultimately for Bristow, it wasn't the case, I do believe. But yeah, I was just driving to the fuel number every single lap and holding on with the tyres.
And just how hard was it to stay within that fuel number? Because as you say, you won't have seen this, but apart from Risto, there were a few other people really coasting around at the end, trying to sip fuel.
Yeah, so there was a lot of time lift and coast. Every single corner, every single lap. Sometimes maybe 4+ seconds at one time. So it was quite a lot, but it made it interesting. Definitely.
Yeah, certainly did. Certainly did. Well, we enjoyed it, that's for sure. And I suppose you did as well. Well, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before I let you go?
The guys in the Discord making it a bit more fun during the lonely areas where I was just lift and coast the entire time. You know, good to have someone to talk to while doing that. And yeah, people that's developed the mod, obviously it's brilliant fun to drive. So absolutely love it. And then all the hard work that I know goes on behind the scenes at the broadcast as well.
It's been a pleasure to cover once again, and great to see you take the victory. Congratulations on the win, and we look forward to seeing you at the next round in 4 weeks' time.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks very much. Daniel Hurlock there, the winner in the pro and overall class. Now, unfortunately, Peter Meyer isn't going to be able to join us as the winner of the AMS, but second place, George Angelidis, is going to be able to join us and now does. Welcome, George. Good to have you with us. A fairly eventful race for you, I hope you won't mind me saying. How did you expect it to go compared to how it actually went?
It's a tough one to say because I was expecting to at least not make mistakes. And then I could have been potentially up in the front fighting with Peter. But after my spin, then that changed the balance of the car, and there was another moment, and then the balance was completely off. And then I was so focused on trying to get Peter that I completely lost track of everybody around me, and everybody just basically went into the pits to change tires, and I had to cover them because they were gaining about 2 seconds a lap. So yeah, I did change the tires. Then the balance in the car was very good after that. I was hitting my marks on the fuel saving, and at the end of the day was trying to get Vinicius, but I think Vinicius ran out of fuel, or some drastic measure of fuel saving at the end, because the 24 seconds became 0 in like 4 laps. So yeah, happy with second. And,
yeah,
we'll see.
I think, I'm not sure. I think he returned to the pit lane at one stage and never came back. So maybe it was fuel, but maybe something else. I'm not entirely sure. But he certainly lost a lot of places, not just second towards the end there. How do you expect the rest of the season to go? We've got a great opening round here at Daytona, but this is 2.4 hours after all. Lots of the races after this are going to, in fact, most of the races after this are going to be a lot shorter than this. How do you expect the rest of the season to go?
I don't know. I really don't know, because I know, like, with the class restructuring now that I'm with a lot of other guys that we used to run more like Pro-Am. The field has increased in pace, so it's a different feeling to be in the lower class of them all. So you basically have to be looking at your mirrors a lot to let the faster guys go, and then we have to play with our in-betweens battles. And I don't know who is gonna end up having this, like good run for 3, 4, 5 events that it will just put them at the lead of the championship. I'm pretty sure Jerry Chan, we have this back and forth for multiple seasons, is going to come strong. I don't think this was a good track for the Porsche because it lacks a little bit of a top speed. But definitely in the twisty bits tracks, he's going to be having a blast. So try to get as many points now to build the gap, and then we'll see how it goes.
Well, it's been great to chat to you. Congratulations on second place. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before I let you go?
Thanks everybody for coming in. It's a very different mod that we had for VWC. So everybody who joined and raced, that's quite welcome to see. What was that, 35, 36 cars in a very, very weird set of regulations with fuel saving. It was very, very different. I don't think a lot of people have been doing that before. Thankfully, everybody is going to remain and stay for the rest of the championship, and then going to have a good one. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to it. George, thanks for chatting to us, and we'll see you in 4 weeks.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. George Angeli is there in second place in the AM class tonight. Once again, congratulations to Peter Meyer for his race win in the AM class here tonight. Well, what a great opening round to the season that was, Tom. 2.4 hours here at Daytona. The fuel restriction made that very, very interesting indeed. I don't think I've ever seen an ending to a race quite like that before.
No, we don't see it too often, but when fuel is essential in races like this, especially in the endurance ones, you've got to time it really, really well. And unfortunately, the likes of Corpy got it all wrong today, but at least you can learn from that going forward. But it's been brilliant to see so many battles all the way through, a battle for the lead overall all the way to the end. And hopefully we're going to be seeing more of that in the coming races, including Sebring in 4 weeks' time.
Absolutely. We look forward to seeing you there in 4 weeks. It will be the 1.2 hours of Sebring on that one, followed by Mugello, Le Mans, Monza, Silverstone, Hockenheim, Motorsports, Spa, Brands Hatch, Fuji and Sandown before the end of our season. So I very much hope that you can join us for that, bringing us all the way to the 2nd of December when we have our final round of the season. Between now and then, of course, is the second round of the Virtual World Sportscar Championship Modern Championship. And so make sure you subscribe to the JP YouTube channel and catch us at going live for that one in a few weeks' time as well, just before 7 o'clock in the UK. I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside Tom Cairns, and Paul Glover has been the man behind the scenes, pressing all the buttons for us this afternoon. Thanks very much for tuning in to the 2.4 hours of Daytona, the first round of the Virtual World Sportscar Championship, historic championship for season 2025. We'll be back with this series in 4 weeks' time, 8th of March, for the 1.2 hours of Sebring. Hope to see you then. Goodbye for now.